Chapter 87. Once Sanshui County's ready-made liangpi was introduced, those people who wanted to buy soybeans didn't dare to continue. They continued to buy the white flour, neither too much nor too little. Because of the addition of liangpi, the jianbing fruit sold even better. One hot and one cold when eaten together would cost 5 copper coins. If they ate these things in the past, 5 copper coins would be too expensive. However, in the county, 5 copper coins was only the price of a bowl of noodles at a noodle house. Whether it was the taste or the quantity, it couldn't compare to a jianbing fruit and liangpi. All of a sudden, the two kinds of food in Sanshui County were selling like hotcakes. Many people from neighboring counties came to taste them. There were even more people who wanted to learn how to make them. However, they found that they could not make the spicy taste of the food in Sanshui County. The people chosen by County Magistrate Chung were all from poor families. If they wanted to get this kind of raw material, they had to bring their household registration to the county government of Sanshui County. Naturally, they didn't care about the other counties. As the people said, you should go to whoever is your parent official. In this way, County Magistrate Cheng's reputation was even greater, even if the drought in Sanshui County was out of control. Xiaobao, those people didn't do anything. Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao with a little disappointment in Zhang Zhezhuangzi. That means they don't have a strong background. I know what to do. Tomorrow we'll make all the tofu dregs into tofu and sell them in the surrounding counties. When we reach the counties, we'll make them again. 1 copper coin for 3 caddies. Call Erniu over. This time, let him disguise himself and help me do something. Zhang Xiaobao first used the liangpi to warn those people. Then he began to retaliate. No one had ever dared to make such a threat in front of him. Those who dared to threaten him prayed that they would never make any mistakes and would always maintain a high status. After Erniu came and left, everything returned to normal. Xiaobao, you're too radical, Wang Wan said worriedly after listening to Zhang Xiaobao's instructions to Erniu. Then what should I do? It's just an organization that sells eggs without any backing. Do I need to back down? I can give in to Zhou Shihu. After all, his uncle is a 6th-rank official. If there is a provincial governor's son in this organization, so what if I give him all the chickens? This world is so realistic. If you don't have the ability, don't make a move. I want to seek stability, but that means I have to compromise with these people. The chickens we raise are not under our control. Do they really think that they are an underground family and can control everything? Without 6,000 chickens, how am I going to eat locusts? Zhang Xiaobao had no intention of forgiving those people. If those people had come to talk to him first, he might have taken a compromise. But those people actually wanted to buy soybeans. This was a threat, and a threat without the support of the government. 5 days later, the price of tofu in various places suddenly dropped. Zhang Zhezhuangzi took out all the bean cakes that were stored to feed livestock and specialized in making tofu. Other people's tofu costs 1 copper coin per kilogram. Tofu made from bean cakes costs 1 copper coin per kilogram, but tofu made from bean cakes costs 1 copper coin per kilogram. The tofu made from bean cakes did not taste good, but it was cheap. For a time, tofu was not easy to sell. The purchase of soybeans also decreased. The price of soybeans dropped a little. This was not a lot, but it was a big loss for those who bought in large quantities. At this time, Erniu also found his position. Soybeans originally cost 2 copper coins per kilogram. 1 kilogram of soybeans could make about 2 kilograms of tofu. Selling tofu for 1 copper coin per kilogram was not a lot of profit. Erniu found some people in other counties to buy soybeans for 1 copper coin per kilogram. If someone asked, they would buy them to feed livestock. Many people did not accept this, but Erniu did not care. He also spent money to bribe some people to spread the news in restaurants and tea houses. Do you eat tofu? Do you? Then you have to be careful. Some people use beans that do not sprout to make tofu. They are the ones in the rabbit's mouth. Tofu made from this kind of beans will end one's life after eating it. You have to ask clearly when you buy it. Do you usually eat beans at home? Do you feel uncomfortable after drinking water after eating them? This is because the inchi in the beans is too strong. Otherwise, why does it smell so fishy? Do you buy beans? I will sell them to you at a low price. Really, I will sell you 5 kilograms for 1 copper coin. Really? Don't run. My beans will definitely not get sick. One after another, Rumors spread in various counties in the prefecture. This was not a big deal. Everyone ate what they were supposed to. Some people even sneered at the rumors. On the 5th day after the rumors spread, a person came to the Yamen of Sanshui County to complain. He found someone to write a complaint against a person who sold soybeans on the street. He said that his father ate the soybeans and died. The county magistrate ordered people to arrest the criminal, but they could not find him at all. It seemed that the person had not come back since he appeared. It was written clearly on the complaint that the person sold them 2 kilograms of soybeans for 1 copper coin, many of which were rabbit's mouth. In the end, he bought them for his family, but his father did not survive the night. The county magistrate sent people to check. The Yamen runner who went to report that the old man's body was swollen when he died. At the same time, the couple also said that they did not have children. They usually ate soybeans and tofu, which was cheap. The county magistrate Cheng Lingxiang was furious. He immediately issued an arrest warrant for the person who sold soybeans. The whole prefecture and the neighboring prefectures were shocked. The price of soybeans plummeted. Erniu immediately offered to buy 5 kilograms of soybeans for 1 copper coin. There were also rumors that the soybeans in Feng Prefecture were like this, and that the soybeans in other places were fine. Moreover, it was the soybeans in the last 2 years that killed people. See? Because of your anger, the people here don't dare to eat soybeans anymore. How many people have you harmed by doing this? In Zhangzhe Zhuangzi, Wang Wan complained to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao did not care. He still had a backup plan. He said to Wang Wan, "The power of public opinion is still very strong. When the time comes, we can just find an excuse to turn it around. Didn't those tofu sellers teach them to make dandan noodles? In the whole prefecture, how many tofu sellers are there in total? How did the old man die? Did you kill him?" Wang Wan saw that Zhang Xiaobao had made arrangements, so she changed the topic and continued to ask, "How could I kill him? How could I cause him to get tuberculosis? Didn't you hear what the people in the Yamen said? The old man kept vomiting blood. It was too late to beat Remy Feng." Zhang Xiaobao was really helpless. Wasn't it just a slightly inferior method? Who asked that time was tight? The business world was like a battlefield. What kind of methods could not be used? Then, how will you let people eat soybeans again in the future? Didn't I say that only the soybeans from last year and the year before can be eaten? The rest of the time is fine. Then what about the end of the family line? The woman of the couple is already pregnant. That's how I found it. When the time comes, I will say that someone deliberately spread rumors. Once the child is born, the rumors will be dispelled. Anyway, your method is not very honorable. I want to be honorable. It's not impossible. Do I have time? It's a drought. The higher-ups will send people to check the land so that they can reduce the land tax. They will be here soon. You are so reasonable. Wang Wan realized that she could not find fault in the details. She still felt uncomfortable. At least, many people would not be able to eat tofu during this period. I know what you are thinking. This is simple. We will pay for it and let County Magistrate Cheng say that he found those bad people in our province. He will burn them. Won't they be relieved then? Zhang Xiaobao continued to add. When Wang Wan heard that they were going to burn all the soybeans, she knew that this money was coming from her side. Her face was a little sad. It's a pity to burn all the soybeans. It will cost about 800 to 800 taels of silver, right? More or less, but it's not a pity. After the soybeans are burned, we will gather the ashes and make soy sauce. At most we will sell more soy sauce in the future. In the past, Grandpa Principal used to make soy sauce. Back then, Grandpa used to fry the soybeans. He stir-fried the soybeans and turned them into powder. After adding salt, it became soy sauce. Zhang Xiaobao added again. We didn't eat that kind of soy sauce in the past, right? Wang Wan was a little doubtful. Yes, in the past we couldn't even bear to put soybeans in it. We just put in the coloring. Think about it, the retail price is only 1 yuan per bag of soybeans. That bag is 1 caddy. How much does soybeans cost per caddy? How much does the better bottled soybeans cost? Look at what's in it. Then I won't eat soy sauce in the future. Wang Wan was really a little scared. How can you not eat it? There's so much to burn. You also need to consume some of it. The farmers will send it to each family. When the time comes, each family will be given 50 caddies to try. Zhang Xiaobao said jokingly. A crisis that belonged to a quasi-family was finally over. Zhang Xiaobao had arranged everything. From the beginning to the end there was no mistake. The people who bought the soybeans in Fengzhou were different. They found that the soybeans could no longer be sold. They wanted to transport them elsewhere, but the people there were already on guard. When they saw that the soybeans were from Fengzhou, they directly drove them away. The person who proposed to buy the soybeans now regretted it. He knew that all this was done by Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. He wanted to refute, but found that the county magistrate of Sanshui County was actually behind Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. He wanted to find other people in Fengzhou, but those people couldn't wait to hide. What should we do? We can't even sell 10 caddies of soybeans for 1 yuan. The people here don't eat them. The people who originally sold tofu have changed to selling that called dan dan noodles. The money they earn every day is actually more than selling tofu. A person in this temporarily united organization was the first to complain. He couldn't afford to waste time and was prepared to sell the soybeans at a high price during the drought. Now he didn't want anything. How Zhugua, can you not say such discouraging words? If we can't sell the soybeans, we can make them into dried tofu and transport them away. Who will be able to find out? Another person was a little dissatisfied with the previous person's depressed look and proposed a new idea. When the others heard this, their eyes lit up. They felt that this idea was feasible. Chapter 88. While these people were thinking about how long it would take to make so many soybeans into dried tofu, the dispute between Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao was not over yet. The reason was that Wang Wan wanted to eat tofu. She wanted to invite the farmers in Zhuangzi to eat tofu as well. She and Zhang Xiaobao had so many soybeans. Even if the tofu they made was not as good, it was still edible. In the end, although the villagers ate it, it was as though they had eaten poison. They felt like they were sacrificing themselves. When Wang Wan was moved, she felt that if her villagers were like this, then what about the people in the prefecture? How long would it take to correct the soybeans? At first, Zhang Xiaobao did not think much of it. Later he realized that there was not much to eat at this time of the year. It was good to be able to eat some soy products. It could be considered as continuing to make up for the mistakes he made when attacking the enemy. Zhang Xiaobao sold all the black fungus to other provinces. After he got the money, he bought soybeans from those provinces. Since he was the one who started the rumor and decided to take responsibility, he could only use this method. I didn't expect you to be so soft-hearted. Actually, I also admit that your way of doing things is not wrong. Isn't it just some people who can't eat soy products? How many people have cheated an entire country and countless people for their own sake? In the end, everyone still praises them. Tell me, why are you soft-hearted again? Wang Wan saw Zhang Xiaobao's quick actions, and how he could make money in the process of making up for his mistakes. She said to Zhang Xiaobao in admiration, I have never been that kind of heartless person. Some things are an exception. For example, I know about those people who touched the funds of the orphanage. You were really smart. You bought a large amount of soybeans at once and the price was lowered by you. The most amazing thing was that you sold the wood ears to those who had soybeans and asked them to bargain before you gave them the money. This time we actually made more than 400 taels of silver. Wang Wan did not wait for Zhang Xiaobao to finish and continued his words. Sigh. Zhang Xiaobao didn't have anything else to say. Originally, according to his method of operation, he could have earned an extra 1,000 taels of silver. That black fungus would definitely have helped him achieve his goal. He didn't expect that he would have to lose 600 taels of silver just to make up for it in advance. In fact, if he had taken action a few days later, he would have been able to solve this problem. Who asked the farmer to reveal an expression as if he was unafraid of death when he was taking advantage of the tofu. Why? Are you regretting it? Wang Wan asked with a smile. There's no such thing as regret in life. Do the villagers have any mental illness? I didn't expect the people of this era to have such a strong belief in this kind of thing. No, the main family has sent people to check on them. They are fine, and some even cried for those who didn't believe the main family at that time. This is really good, we know what kind of people the farmers are. Now I'm not jealous of Napoleon. Why don't you let me handle the new soybean? Wang Wan was touched when she thought of how the farmers were taking advantage of the tofu that day. They all thought that tofu would kill people, but they still ate it. She would treat them better in the future. Don't do it. I know that you want to make those beans into finished products and sell them. That won't do. Just sell them to those who used to make tofu at a normal price. If someone doesn't want to make bean products anymore and wants to make money from dan dan noodles, there's no need to rush. The number of merchants depends on the demand of the market. Zhang Xiaobao knew what Wang Wan was thinking when he saw her expression. He immediately rejected the idea. You're really a good person. Wang Wan's smile became even brighter. What good person? That's derogatory. I can only say that I'm not a bad person. The soybeans will be delivered tomorrow, and then everything will be fine. No, I can't let people who provoke me go so easily. Zhang Xiaobao mentioned those people again. You still don't want to let them go? You've affected a lot of people. Wang Wan felt that the current Zhang Xiaobao was a little scary. He was too persistent. I'll take responsibility for the people who were affected by me. I'll make it up to them. But what about them? At least I don't have the idea of making money from a national disaster. They think that they're smart and have calculated a lot of things. I don't represent justice, but I represent myself to take revenge. That's fine, right? The more Zhang Xiaobao thought about this matter, the more frustrated he felt. He didn't expect that the rumors from back then could cause such a big impact. Psychology seemed to be limited by the era. After going around in circles, he couldn't get over his conscience. He couldn't even hold on for a few days. He clearly knew that everything would be solved after a few days, but he still sold the fungus. Wang Wan took out a handful of meat floss from nowhere and handed it to Zhang Xiaobao. Then have you thought of how to take revenge? Will you do it yourself? Or will you let County Magistrate Chung do it? It's not bad. What are you smelling? Could it be that you were infected by the farmers when they were eating tofu? No, I won't do it this time. I'm still young. It's not suitable for County Magistrate Chung to do it. He's under too much pressure. Let the provincial government do it. There are so many soybeans. If they want to get them out, they'll have to turn them into finished products. I think they're doing it now. It's a good opportunity to get something on them. Zhang Xiaobao said with the meat floss in his mouth. Then how do you want the provincial government to do it? Wang Wan smiled and stuffed another handful of meat floss into Zhang Xiaobao's mouth. Give them benefits. What else can we do? We just need to create an auspicious sign. Auspicious sign? What do you want to plant this time? What's the use of planting during a drought? What do you need during a drought? Water. As long as there's water coming out of a dry well, it's an auspicious sign. Tomorrow, get someone to check and see if there's a dry well in this county. You can plant some yao yao. Zhang Xiaobao was now determined to deal with those people no matter what. As long as the soybeans were investigated and they were locked up for 2 days, they would definitely spend a lot of money. Wang Wan understood. Zhang Xiaobao was preparing to blow up the wells. Many dry wells could continue to produce water after digging a little. She nodded and said, "All right, I'll leave it to you." "All right, leave the matter of the fertilizer to me. Actually, I'm quite angry as well. We raised some chickens just to help them eat some locusts and let the villagers live a better life. In the end, they came looking for us. Sometimes the beginning and the end of a battle are not something you can control. Since they came to fight, then let's fight to the end." 2 days later, clear water suddenly came out of a dry well in Sanshui County. At the same time, there was a loud noise in the middle of the night. The people who woke up in the morning found the place where the noise came from yesterday, and saw that the dry well that had been dry for 30 years was producing water. This news quickly spread in the county. County Magistrate Chung even wrote a memorial, claiming that this was an auspicious sign from the heavens after the people in the county got rid of those people who hid the soybeans. He also pointed out the possible hiding places of those people. When the people in the county saw that there was an auspicious sign and the county magistrate directly sent this merit to the higher-ups, they immediately sent people to search for the locations that County Magistrate Chung pointed out. In just half a day, those people who hid the soybeans and their people were found. The people sent by the county didn't care how much these people wanted to bribe and directly arrested them. They listed a lot of crimes, such as hoarding during a major disaster, wanting to make poisonous soybeans into dried tofu, and sell it to harm people, etc. Among those who were arrested, There were even people who were willing to pay 3,000 taels of silver to protect themselves. The arresters didn't even want to take the money. What was the situation now? It was a drought. At this time there was actually water coming out of a dry well that had been dry for many years. This was the most important thing, more important than cucumbers in winter. These people were finally locked up. As for what kind of treatment they would receive in prison and how much money they would spend, it was not Zhang Xiaobao's concern. He was now busy arranging for people to help the county magistrate burn all the local soybeans. Some firewood was spread on the ground with soybeans on top. Some soybeans were piled up with another layer of firewood. Many people in the county came to see in person. When the fire started, these people cheered. Now they could eat soy products with ease. County Magistrate Cheng's reputation was promoted to another level. There was no other good official in the Tang Empire who made decisions for the people. Otherwise, there wouldn't be another auspicious sign in Sanshui County. When County Magistrate Cheng saw so many soybeans being burned, he felt a little distressed. However, when he remembered that these soybeans were all paid for by others, he felt a little better. The dead old man was also reconfirmed to have contracted tuberculosis. It was said that even a woman who was not pregnant was pregnant. After 9 days, the trouble caused by Zhang Xiaobao's revenge was all solved. The people didn't care whether the soybeans were poisonous or not. Anyway, they had been burned. It was better if there was no poison. Even if there was poison, they were not afraid. After Zhang Xiaobao heard the news, he also let out a long breath. Wang Wan's mood also improved. Xiaobao, have the burned soybeans been transported back? We have made a lot of money this time. How much soy sauce can we make? It's still early. There are so many beans and firewood. We might not be able to finish burning them in 2 days. County Magistrate Cheng has already promised us that the last thing will be ours. Those innocent people have suffered. They didn't dare to eat any bean products for 6 days. Fortunately, the beans we bought from outside 3 days ago were sold. The burnt beans can't be used to extract oil. In the future, when we cook, we will put soy sauce in every meal. Zhang Xiaobao lay down on the chair and fell asleep in a while. Wang Wan also yawned and fell asleep. 2 days later, all the soybeans were burned. They were transported to Zhangzhe Zhuangzi in carts. Black piles of soybeans were placed there. People who didn't know the situation wouldn't be able to guess that these were the poisonous soybeans. How is it? Have you seen it? This is the power of Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. They put the people who threatened them in jail. County Magistrate Cheng said to Chan Dong, who had just returned from delivering the soybeans, "Yes, my lord. This lowly one knows that the Zhang family's manner is not ordinary. But this lowly one doesn't understand. How did water come out of that dry well? It sounds like firecrackers, but firecrackers aren't that loud. It's possible to make hundreds of thousands of firecrackers, but the well can't be filled. I also didn't see so many firecrackers," Chan Dong said in confusion. Chapter 89. If you can't figure it out, don't think about it blindly. You just need to remember that it is an auspicious sign. County Magistrate Cheng warned Chan Dong. In fact, he also didn't understand why there was water. If he didn't know that it was Zhangzhe Zhuangzi's doing, he would also believe what others said. That is, it was a big thunder from God to let the dry well be reborn. The more he thought about it, the more confused he became. In the end, he could only tell that it was an auspicious sign and not think about it blindly. "Xiaobao, come over quickly. They are starting to work over there. In a few days we will be able to eat and fish up there." Wang Wan pulled up Zhang Xiaobao, who was still wondering if he could use the burnt beans as fodder, and walked towards the small bridge. Everyone else was busy except for Huzi. Today, he followed behind the 2 little brats and looked around vigilantly. "Xiaobao, look over there. The river is dry. They are laying the foundation there." Wang Wan pulled Zhang Xiaobao to the bridge. She held the edge of the bridge and tiptoed to look over there. She was very excited, mainly because some of the layout was designed by her. It was the room closest to the bridge. She had designed it in a pink tone. There were many short places to hang clothes in the room. She had asked someone to make a big pillow that was bigger than her. Flowers were to be placed in the room all year round. Zhang Xiaobao didn't say anything when he saw her design. He felt that Wang Wan didn't design for others. That place was tailor-made for her. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a short hanger. That thing might grow taller with age. Anything was possible. Xiao Bao, say something. Do you think that place is beautiful? Wang Wan saw that Zhang Xiaobao didn't say anything, so she asked again. It's beautiful. It gives people a kind of abstract beauty, just like the paintings of Van Gogh or Picasso. There's a hint of hidden meaning in the chaos. It reminds me of the unmarked graves on the mountain behind the orphanage when I was young. During the day you didn't feel anything. It was monotonous and boring. If you wanted to fully understand that place, you had to go at night. It would make your heart beat faster and cause your nerves to undergo some kind of mutation. Occasionally, when there was a sound that wasn't made by you, you would involuntarily resonate with it. At that time, you will truly understand that high pitch is not an obstacle for you. It will develop your intelligence and allow you to evolve from a narrow sense of science that does not have the existence of ghosts to a broad sense of science that studies all existence and the unknown, including hallucinations, until you lose consciousness. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the messy pile of construction materials and finally said these words. When Huzi heard this, he had the same feeling as when Zhang Xiaobao said that he saw Picasso's painting. He didn't care so much as long as the two little ancestors didn't fall down. Comrade Zhang Xiaobao, please don't insult Van Gogh and Picasso. Wang Wan took a deep breath and protested to Zhang Xiaobao. No, Comrade Wang Wan, don't worry. I definitely didn't have that kind of thought. I was insulting the unmarked graves. I was insulting it as much as I could, making it bare in the dark. If you want to draw it, you need to borrow the pale moonlight. Let's go back and look at it again when the construction is done. Zhang Xiaobao really didn't have the mood to look at the pile of construction materials. He was thinking about who the higher-ups would send to check on the drought. Yesterday, County Magistrate Chang sent someone to inform him that the higher-ups would arrive in 2 days, which was tomorrow. The most important thing was how to deal with this person. I knew you wouldn't appreciate it. You always see the beauty of the result, but you don't know that it's already beautiful before the result. Wang Wan muttered and followed Zhang Xiaobao back. She wanted to see how much the fish in the pond had grown. The higher-ups will be here tomorrow, and I still want to appreciate the result? What I'm thinking about now is how to nip this in the bud. Zhang Xiaobao followed her. When they reached the pond, there were small piles of ducks and geese floating in it. Xiao Hong stood at the side with a long stick in her hand. Her mouth was moving non-stop, as if she was talking to the ducks and geese. Little Master and Little Madam are here. Look, the most beautiful goose in the middle is called Hongrong. It's the smartest. It knows how to chase some slightly bigger fish to the shore, and then call the other geese to bring the fish to the shore. When Xiao Hong saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, she happily greeted them and pointed to a goose in the water and introduced it. As soon as she finished speaking, the goose really called the other geese to bring a fish that was more than a foot long to the shore. The fish seemed to be unwilling and jumped back and forth. Ah, fish. The fish that was put in the pond hasn't grown up yet, but they got it out. Wang Wan didn't consider whether the goose was smart or not. She came to see the fish. Zhang Xiaobao praised, it's smart. Later, we'll put it in Ernia's grilled fish oven, and see if it will open the oven door from the inside. Ah, little master, you can't kill it. I still want it to bring the other geese back obediently. Xiao Hong was frightened when she heard that. This goose was the most obedient and could control the other geese. She just needed to control this goose every day, and didn't have to worry about anything else. Then we'll change to another pond. There are 6 ponds in total, and only one has fish in it. Why do we have to put it here? Zhang Xiaobao was a little helpless. The pond in front of them was not the biggest, nor was it the best. Okay, I'll change the pond now. You can't kill Hongrong. Hongrong, come here quickly or you'll be roasted. Xiao Hong agreed and called the goose in the pond. The goose really did come over, followed by a group of geese. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were fascinated by it. Let's go back and exercise. Huzi, pick up the fish and make soup. Zhang Xiaobao pulled Wang Wan back. He didn't plan to put the fish back. In the Yamen of Sanshui County, County Magistrate Chang was also restless. He was guessing who would come this time. If it was a serious and responsible person, it would be over when Zhangzhe Zhuangzi was found. He had promised to delay it until summer or autumn. Sir, you just had lunch. You better take a rest first. If someone complains, you still have to deal with it. The deputy county magistrate persuaded him. During lunch, the county magistrate didn't eat much and just drank. County Magistrate Chung slowly closed his eyes. Okay, I'll take a nap. Remember to call me if there's anything. The deputy county magistrate nodded and left. County Magistrate Chung closed his eyes, but he couldn't fall asleep. As long as he lowered his head slightly, he would see the scene of the people in Zhangjiazhuangzi being taken away. Even if he knew that even if the place didn't follow the rules, nothing would happen to the people in the village. After several failed attempts to fall asleep, County Magistrate Chung sat up and looked at the ground, thinking about how to deal with the person who came. It would be best if the person didn't come for a long time, only a few days. In that case, the whole county wouldn't be able to visit. Or the person who came was lazy and only looked at the documents prepared by the yamen, and then went on to do other things. Uncle Chung, I'm here to see you. While County Magistrate Chung was guessing, Zhou Shihu's voice came from outside. Shihu, come in. County Magistrate Chung called out, but he didn't move. He just sat there and waited. When he reached the door silently, the door was pulled open. Zhou Shihu, who looked refreshed, walked in happily. Shihu, why are you here? You must have made a lot of money from the last 2 transactions. Now you can answer to your uncle. Looking at Zhou Shihu, who seemed to be a different person, County Magistrate Chung was quite satisfied. Uncle Chung, actually I didn't make much money. It's just a small amount of money. Uncle Chung, guess who came this time? Zhou Shihu touched the jade pendant hanging on his waist and asked happily. I can't guess. Do you know who it is? County Magistrate Chung shook his head and suddenly realized that if Zhou Shihu didn't know the situation, he would definitely not come here. Zhou Shihu puffed out his chest and nodded vigorously. That's right. I just know. The person who came from the province accompanied the person from the imperial court. It's probably just a formality. After all, the person from the imperial court has to investigate the entire province. It's impossible for him to check every place. Uncle Chung, you know who it is this time, right? I don't know. County Magistrate Chung had been thinking about this for the past 2 days. His mind was in a mess and he couldn't figure it out at all. Oh, it's my uncle. He's in charge of the province's granary and is in charge of taxation. When Uncle came back last time, he said that I don't know anything and always cause trouble. This time I want to show Uncle. Seeing that County Magistrate Chung couldn't figure it out, Zhou Shihu could only say it himself. Really? Your uncle is here? Don't worry. County Magistrate Chung felt that his whole body was aching at this moment. He couldn't wait to lie down and sleep. Uncle Chung, don't worry this time. Once Uncle sees me, he will help Zhangjiazhuangzi no matter what. I know now. He's in the business of blackmailing and stealing other people's things to make money. Zhou Shihu wanted to show off in front of his family. He was so excited that his face turned red. County Magistrate Chung looked at Zhou Shihu and felt a little helpless. This child still didn't know some things. Making money from business depended on what kind of business it was. The 2 deals that Zhangjiazhuangzi gave him were both unique. That's right. Zhangjiazhuangzi still doesn't know about this. Quick, call Chundong over. Tell him to go to Zhangjiazhuangzi and tell him to bring back a caddy of black fungus so that I can treat people well. County Magistrate Chung just remembered that he had to tell Zhuangzi such good news. He ordered a servant who was guarding outside the door. When Chundong arrived at Zhangjiazhuangzi, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were practicing shooting with the slingshot. The housekeeper served Chundong and then came in to tell them what had happened. Hearing the news, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan both breathed a sigh of relief. They also asked someone to prepare a caddy of black fungus. Zhang Xiaobao thought for a while and said, "It's good that people are here. We can use this opportunity to invite Zhou Shihu's uncle here. We can only invite him. There's no need for the imperial court to come. Thank you for trusting me." Chapter 90. The sky was blue and the clouds were floating in the sky. The wind blew and the rain gathered and stopped. The mist was at the source. One of the ponds has lost 1/3 of its water. It's only been 3 days. 6 ponds only take 18 days. Think of a solution quickly. After waking up in the morning and washing up, Wang Wan dragged Zhang Xiaobao to inspect the 6 ponds on Zhuangzi. Plowing in spring required a lot of water. Seeing that one of the ponds had lost 1/3 of its water, Wang Wan was a little anxious. Zhang Xiaobao watched from the side. The people from Zhuangzi kept carrying the water back. He also knew that the farmers from Zhuangzi were afraid of the drought. The water in the fields had been given to them, but they actually dug holes in front of their houses and put boards on top of them. Then they carried water from the ponds of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and poured it in. Say something. Just watch them carry the water away. Once the water enters the holes, half of it will seep out every day. The surrounding area is dry. Wang Wan was a little unhappy when she saw the farmers from Zhuangzi scrambling to get the water back. Her own household water could be put into the tanks. It was simply a waste to do this. Just let them carry it away. Do you want to stop them? How about this? From tomorrow onwards, let a few people from Guzhuang come over. We will take care of their meals. Arrange them next to the well. As long as someone comes to fetch water, let them help. Seal the ponds. If they want to use water, let Steward Gu come over and provide it all at once. At first, Zhang Xiaobao thought that it was not a big deal for these people to carry some water. Wasn't it just digging a hole? When the water around the hole was saturated, the hole would be full. But he suddenly realized that after the hole was full, these people were likely to dig another hole. Then the water would really be wasted. I agree. We can't let them throw away the water casually now. They won't understand even if we explain it to them. It would be better if the farmers from Zhuangzi listened to everything we said. Wang Wan was also helpless about this. This was human nature. If she really wanted to blame someone, she could only blame the main family of Guzhuang. He called for Huzi, who had followed him here, and gave him instructions. Huzi immediately went to make the arrangements. He had long disliked these people and wanted to do this today. However, because of the young master and young lady's instructions, he had no choice but to wait until tomorrow. He had thought it through. The people of Zhuangzi of the Gu family had lost face for the main family, but he could not lose face for the young master. A farmer must have the awareness of a farmer, and a servant must also have the rules of a servant. After a short while, Huzi finished making arrangements and returned. He told them what he wanted to say. And it's good that you can think this way. When the farmers and you do things outside, it's no different from when the main family does things. When the time comes, don't be afraid of causing trouble. If something really happens, no matter what the reason is, the main family will help you. Even if you make a mistake, the main family will punish you. It's not up to others to interfere. Wang Wan was satisfied with Huzi's way of doing things and the way of thinking in her heart. She was used to being domineering. In the past, when she did things in the lower ranks, she did things like this. If they made a mistake or harmed the local interests, then the local people did not need to interfere. Whether they would be punished or not was another matter. They were independent. That was what she thought. However, Huzi did not expect that the people of the main family were really too domineering. He thought for a while and asked, "Young master, young lady, if we cause trouble outside, if we offend the government, then we won't do anything? It doesn't matter. No matter who you offend, as long as you do things for the main family in the process because you think for the good of the main family, if you make a mistake, find a way to escape. Even if the government comes, the main family will support you. Even if you hurt people for the main family may still reward you." In this regard, Wang Wan never compromised and said resolutely. This time Huzi didn't say anything, but he was happy in his heart. He never doubted the words of the young master and young lady. If he wasn't beside them, he really wanted to shout out to express his feelings. This was the true master of the house. They would not abandon their subordinates when they were in trouble. Zhang Xiaobao did not say anything. He knew what Wang Wan meant. She would not do things that would undermine him. When Huzi's mood stabilized, he said, "Huzi, make something for me. This thing has to be 2 inches long and half the thickness of a chopstick. It has to be flat and have 3 edges on it." While speaking, Zhang Xiaobao picked up a small wooden stick and drew the shape for Huzi. Huzi looked carefully and nodded. "Young master, don't worry. Huzi will definitely find someone to make it." "Well, then you go and do it now. Cuckoo and I don't need to take care of here," Zhang Xiaobao said and pulled Wang Wan to another place. "What did you ask him to make? Why does it look like a murder weapon to me?" After walking for a while, Wang Wan asked Zhang Xiaobao. "It's a murder weapon for the 2 of us. Usually we put it in the sleeves of our clothes and make a cover. In case we encounter danger, such as someone kidnapping us, we can't just wait for others to save us. That thing has a strong penetrative power. If someone holds us in his arms and threatens others, we can let that person know that not everyone can be kidnapped. Zhang Xiaobao was now preparing for the possible dangers in the future. Okay, I understand. When the thing is made, the two of us will practice assassination. You are really not an ordinary kind of ruthless. You actually want to make it into a three-edged needle. As long as you aim it at the neck, no one can save you. Wang Wan still didn't completely understand Zhang Xiaobao. When she thought of the three-edged needle that was only 2 inches long and pierced into people's necks, she had to admit that Zhang Xiaobao really couldn't wear away his tyrannical character. Don't think that I'm ruthless. People who can really use children as hostages definitely don't have good hearts. Who told you to not be able to make a gun? Do you think it's so easy to make a gun? This is the Tang dynasty, not the Song dynasty where the handicraft industry flourished. I can think of ways to make all kinds of firearms. I can also make the shape of a gun. Do you dare to use it? Wang Wan's index finger and thumb made the shape of a gun and pressed it against Zhang Xiaobao's nose as she spoke. Zhang Xiaobao's 2 black eyes moved closer to the middle and a little lower. His lips slightly moved. I don't dare. I'm afraid of exploding. Didn't you say that Zhou Shihu's uncle is coming today? Why isn't he here yet? Don't pinch my nose. Wang Wan reluctantly retracted her hand. I'm being pinched, silly. He said that he's coming today, but he's coming to Sanshui County, not here. There's still someone in the imperial court. No matter what, we have to arrange it first. What do you think is the best medium for sound transmission? The higher the density, the faster the transmission in theory. The lower the dispersion, the more stable the transmission. What do you want to do? Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and shook his black eyes back to their original position. Oh, then do you know how to make a phone call? I want to prepare alarm equipment for the farmers in Zhuangzi. I want them to be able to send the news over as soon as there's danger and get people to help. Wang Wan blinked her big eyes and said, I'm not those scientists. If you want to lie, I have countless ways. In practical application, the people in the Academy of Sciences are tens of thousands of times better than me. I'm not an expert or a professor. It's fine as long as you say you don't know. I've never believed in experts or professors. I know a few academicians in the Academy of Sciences, but all of them are so stupid. They don't know how to be famous and only want to do research. Forget it, let's use the most ancient method. Wang Wan was a little disappointed with Zhang Xiaobao's answer. She sighed and made up her mind. That afternoon, Wang Wan arranged for 2 ropes to be pulled out of each house. The ropes were made of silk and connected diagonally upwards to a platform made of wood. These platforms were then connected again with ropes made of silk. These platforms were then connected to other platforms. These platforms were connected to the main house by ropes made of silk. For those farmers, when one of the ropes was pulled, it would make the corresponding bell on the platform ring. The other rope had a bamboo tube that was also connected to the platform. Hey, it's done. This is the most primitive method of long-distance communication. Tomorrow find 2 more doctors. We also need to form a fire brigade in Zhuangzi. Go wherever there's a problem. In the evening, Wang Wan stopped. She clapped her hands and said to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao already knew what Wang Wan was going to do. She wanted to make an alarm system, but the method was too primitive. He wanted to find a problem with it, but when he saw Wang Wan's excited look, he couldn't bear to do it. He could only nod and say, okay, not bad. You don't mean what you say. I know what you're thinking. Isn't it just that when the wind blows, the rope will move, and the connected bell will ring? Unless there's a very strong wind, this kind of thing won't happen. The bell needs to be pulled with some strength to shrink into the slot. If the wind is really strong enough to blow the bell into the slot, then we should be prepared. Some people's houses might even be blown down. The farmers are so good. They even dare to eat tofu. Of course, we have to do something for them. Wang Wan looked at Zhang Xiaobao's expression and knew what he was thinking. Okay, I agree. But your accuracy may not be so high. Zhang Xiaobao spent 5 taels of silver for this matter, so he didn't care. Then hurry up and find a doctor. Now we only have a veterinarian and a doctor here. At night, there must be someone on duty. Let's go back to sleep. Don't always squeeze me at night. Wang Wan pretended to be generous and said a sentence. She turned around and left. Zhang Xiaobao was stunned for a moment and followed her back. At night, you're the one squeezing me, okay? Hugging and squeezing. I'm about to fall to the ground. When the weather gets warmer, let's sleep on the carpet. Who's hugging you? I'm using you as a pillow. You're meaty and cool. Since I was young, I always had to hug something to sleep. You took advantage of me and you still complain. In the past, I used to hug a cloth doll. Wang Wan didn't look embarrassed at all. Zhang Xiaobao sighed. He knew that he couldn't reason with her in this aspect. He could only bear with it and slightly protest. Then, Comrade Wang Wan, I hope you can cherish the doll. Don't always pull the neck. I've already fallen to the pillow several times. I know. When I sleep at night, I'll use hypnosis. I'm not hugging a cloth doll, but a life form, Xiaobao baby. Wang Wan walked in front of him and said without turning her head. Zhang Xiaobao scratched his head. I'm Xiaobao baby? You seem to be younger than me. Xiaobao baby is my family's dog. He's very obedient. Is anyone there? My mother fell from the Kong bed and can't move. Help me. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't expect that on the first night of the alarm system's appearance, something would happen. Zhang Xiaoshu's family asked the platform for help through this device. The person on the platform was also a villager. First, he heard the sound of the bell. When he saw the bell enter the slot, he picked up the bamboo tube with the string connected to it. Then he heard Zhang Xiaoshu's shout. Zhang Xiaoshu's shout was very loud. Not only did the person on the platform hear it, but the neighbors on both sides also heard it. They all came to check. The person on the platform didn't dare to be negligent. He passed the message to the main house. The person who answered the phone immediately woke up the doctor invited by Zhuangzi and told him that someone fell. When the doctor prepared the things in a daze, the person drove the car and pulled the doctor quickly to Zhang Xiaoshu's house. In less than 15 minutes, or 9.5 minutes according to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's time, the doctor appeared in Zhang Xiaoshu's house. Zhang Xiaoshu and the neighbors thought that they would have to wait for a while. They didn't expect that the doctor would come so soon. The doctor checked the old lady's pulse and the old lady's injury. While treating her, he said to Zhang Xiaoshu, "It's okay. She fell and broke her leg. Don't stay on the Kong bed since it's hot. I'll put the bone back together and prescribe her some medicine. She'll be fine after taking it for half a month. Come with me to get the medicine or you can ask someone to get it." 3 coins? Zhang Xiaoshu was stunned. If you don't have money, you can give me something to exchange for it. Help me find a board and I'll tie it up. The doctor resisted the tiredness and said. Zhang Xiaoshu didn't need to do anything. The neighbor who came here found a board. Why is it so little? Zhang Xiaoshu was still worried about his mother's condition. The neighbor next to him was sober and said to Zhang Xiaoshu, "Xiaoshu, you forgot that the owner of the house is responsible for most of the cost. Why didn't you keep an eye on her and let her fall? You should help her when she gets off the bed." She was asleep. Who knew that my mother would wake up in the middle of the night? What's the place to stay tomorrow? Yes, the master has said that the master will pay the most money if she gets sick. My mother and I are so lucky to have such a master. Zhang Xiaoshu understood. She had to recuperate for half a month and take medicine every day. 3 coins was out of the question. The rest of the money was paid by the master. This was the village. If it were the people in the inner courtyard, they wouldn't need to take any money. Xiaoshu's mother woke up at this time and happened to hear these words. She held her son's leg and said, "Xiaoshu, do more for the master in the future. I've lived for so many years, but this is the first time I've seen such a master. I didn't know what time it was when I woke up. It hasn't even been a quarter of an hour. Don't forget the kindness of the master." Zhang Xiaoshu nodded when he saw his mother wake up. Only then did he remember that when he tried to pull the 2 ropes, the doctor came so fast. If he told other villagers, no one would believe him. The master's means were incomparable. Even the imperial palace might not be able to catch up with him. Chapter 91. Early in the morning, the fog on the distant mountain had not dispersed. A man was kneeling outside the courtyard of the Zhang family. The gatekeeper did not know what was going on. The news had not reached the main family yet, but he recognized Zhang Xiaoshu. He was still wearing the coat made for him on Zhuangzi. Thinking that he was in big trouble, He did not dare to neglect and hurried to find the housekeeper. Steward Zhang was busy with the spring plowing recently, so he also did not know why a villager was kneeling in front of the courtyard. When the gatekeeper came out and saw Zhang Xiaoshu kneeling there motionlessly, he pondered for a moment and asked, "Xiaoshu, are you in trouble?" "Housekeeper Zhang, you've come out." "No, there's no trouble. It's just that my mother's leg has fallen off. It was fixed last night. She won't need to use it for half a month. I'll just kneel for 2 hours." Zhang Xiaoshu looked at Steward Zhang with grateful eyes. He knelt there straight. Except for his mouth, the rest of his body was motionless. "Oh, kneeling for 2 hours? Your clothes seem to be. I am afraid that the clothes given by Zhuangzi on Zhuangzi will be ruined. I wear them on the top and change them on the bottom for work. I want to keep these clothes. When I have a grandson, I will show them to him." Zhang Xiaoshu explained before Steward Zhang could speak. Steward Zhang was a little confused. He did not know what was wrong with Xiaoshu. Why was he kneeling? Besides, there was a patient at home. He said, "Since there is a patient at home, Xiaoshu, you'd better go back and take care of her. Oh, go to warehouse number 5 and take some bones back to make soup." Warehouse number 5 was the name given by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. It was a public warehouse. The things inside were a mess. There were all kinds of commonly used things and the food would be frozen. Bones were one of them. Since her leg fell off, she should eat the bones to nourish her body. When she needed it, she just needed to record it. At the end of every month, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would check it. The gatekeeper knew that these words were directed at him, so he turned around to take them. Not only did he have to take the bones, but he also had to take the kuan puku or kelp, and the liver of a fish that the young master had brought. As long as the soup was made, these 3 things had to be put together in the pot. He didn't know why, but he just obeyed. "Little tree, don't panic. Get up first. Have you found a doctor? There are some in Zhuangzi. We have to take a good look at them. We can't afford to delay. Don't be afraid of spending money. The main family will pay for part of it." Steward Zhang was not clear about what had happened last night. He thought that Zhang Xiaoshu had run out of money. When he didn't say this, Zhang Xiaoshu was just kneeling. Once he said this, Zhang Xiaoshu kowtowed 3 times to the master. "Steward Zhang, I've been looking for them since last night. My mother fell off the Kong, and in less than a quarter of an hour, the doctor from the main family arrived. It was very fast. I heard from the neighbors that it was even faster than the imperial palace. In half a month, I only need to pay 3 copper coins. I'm here today to thank the main family. Last night, I used that newly built thing to call for the doctor." "Oh, so that's the case. Then you don't have to kneel anymore. It's enough that you know how good the main family is. In the future, when you work, put in more effort. The main family isn't giving you alms. They just want you to be at ease and do your work. If you don't slack off, it's considered repaying the main family." Hearing Zhang Xiaoshu's words, Steward Zhang understood that this thing was made by the young master and Miss Cuckoo yesterday. It was going to be used soon. What a clever method. When something happened to a villager, the main family would take action in less than a quarter of an hour. Moreover, when they arrived at the village, no one would believe them even if they told them. But he also knew that he couldn't say that this thing was made by the young master in Mississippi. He could only say it in the name of the main family. As long as the young master and miss were not adults, the people in the inner courtyard must keep their mouths shut and not talk about it among themselves. Zhang Xiaoshu still didn't get up. He continued to kneel there and replied to the steward, "Yes, we all know that. We have to work hard. Except for the main family of Zhang family and Wang family, no other main family of Zhuangzi would do this for the villager. In a while, I'll go to the ground and step on it. I'll step on it and make all the bubbles in the soil come out." "Steward Zhang, what's going on? Isn't this person Xiaoshu from the back of the village? Did he do something wrong? Why is he kneeling here? Get up. As long as you don't collude with outsiders, it's okay to make a little mistake." At this time, the Zhang Wang clan came out and wanted to walk by the river. Could also be considered as exercise. This was persuaded by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao wanted to exercise in the morning, but Wang Wan objected at first, saying that the air in the morning was not good and that it was best to exercise in the evening. Zhang Xiaobao, on the other hand, argued that the air in the morning was not good because of a night of sediment. However, the humidity of the air was good and suitable for people to breathe. The sediment that had been deposited overnight could be handled by the white blood cells in the body before it was exposed to the ultraviolet light. The sediment that had been deposited overnight was exposed to the ultraviolet light, but the moisture in the air was also reduced, which was more harmful to the lungs when exercising. The Jiang Wang clan knew that the children were doing it for her good, so she used 2 periods of time, one in the morning and one in the evening. She also ate the wood ears with heartache to clear her lungs. Today, when she came out with her maid, she saw the person kneeling there. After thinking for a while, she found that she had some impression of him, so she spoke. In reply to Madame, Zhang Xiaoshu didn't do anything wrong. Yesterday, Madame asked people to build a platform to transmit information which was used at night. Xiaoshu's mother fell from the Kong bed in the middle of the night and used that platform to inform this side. The doctor and Zhuangzi got up and went out. From the time of the accident to the time of the treatment, it didn't take more than a quarter of an hour. Xiaoshu is here to express his gratitude. I have already sent people to the 5th storeroom to get the bones. When the time comes, we will give them to Xiaoshu's mother to nourish her body. It will take half a month. The housekeeper reported to the Jiang Wang clan cautiously. There was also a hint that he was not as casual as before. In the past, he was loyal to Zhuangzi and only had respect for Madame. Now, he was in awe and was afraid of the little master. If the little master misunderstood that he did not respect Madame, it would be very likely that he would be killed. He firmly believed that if the little master wanted to kill someone, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. And there's no need to thank me. Do your job well. Xiaoshu, remember to cook everything together when you go back. Don't leave anything behind. Those things are from my family found them with great difficulty. Take good care of your mother and don't move around. Get up. The Jiang Wang clan said lightly. Just now she almost said my family shall bow. After greeting him, the majesty of the master of the house was undoubtedly revealed. Xiaoshu respectfully kowtowed a few more times before he stood up. He felt a little embarrassed. He originally came to express his gratitude, but in the end he received some bones, which was far more than the 3 copper coins he spent. He wanted to turn around and leave without taking anything, but he did not dare to. What was the meaning of not taking what the master gave to you? Were you afraid that you would fall ill from eating too much? Therefore, he could only wait to receive the items. He secretly swore to himself that he would do more to repay the master. As for the master's indifferent tone, he did not have any thoughts about it. The master should be like this. After a while, the gatekeeper brought the 3 items in a bamboo basket. There was still some stubble on the bones, and the basket weighed about 10 pounds. Xiaoshu took the basket and wanted to kowtow to express his gratitude, but found that the master's wife had already left with the servant girl. Xiaoshu Zhang's mother falling down was actually a small matter. However, from the time she fell to the moment she was treated within a quarter of an hour, this was not a small matter. All the villagers knew that if this happened in the past, there would be 2 options. One was to be carried to a place where there was a doctor, the other was to spend money to hire an express train to find her at dawn. The last option was to endure it. If they could, they would. If they could not, they would become disabled. The problem was that Xiaoshu Zhang's mother fell down, and he did not even leave the house. Within a short time people came. This was a life-saving situation. People who were paralyzed in bed would not last more than a few years. Many diseases would come and they would rot there. After Xiaoshu Zhang's neighbor spread the news, the whole of Zhangzhe Zhuangzi knew about it. Then it was the Wang family's Zhuangzi, and then the Gu family's Zhuangzi. Zhang Wang and Zhuangzi both had emergency items, but the Gu family's Zhuangzi did not. They did not even dare to think about it. When a family was in trouble, the master's family would respond within a quarter of an hour and send people over. This speed was frightening to think about. There was no need to worry about the medical fees. It was said that the houses of the Zhangwang and Zhuangzi would be managed by the master's family in the future. It seemed that the villagers did not need to prepare for anything else. They just needed to work hard for the village. There was no need for them to worry about anything else. The villagers of the Gu family were all jealous. The ancestors of the other 2 villages were smoking. The good fortune that they had accumulated over 8 lifetimes was spread over their heads. There was no need for them to think about anything else. They just had to work hard. Guangxi also knew about this matter. Looking at the Zhang Wang and Zhuangzi, he could only sigh. He could not compare and did not dare to. Master, they are doing this to make us feel bad. Why don't we spread the news about them farming and create some trouble for them? Housekeeper Gu was also jealous. You are the master's family, why do you have to raise a doctor? If your side is better, the villagers' hearts will be unstable. Shut up. Don't mention this matter in the future. How dare you use such a method? Do you think that the Zhang Wang and Zhuangzi are friendly? They know about what happened last time and did not do anything. It's not that they are afraid of us, but they don't want to talk to us. Do you really want to force them to deal with the Gu family's Zhuangzi? If we continue to create trouble, there will be no way out. We are still building the restaurant with them. I heard that they are looking for a doctor. Why don't we discuss with them? We will also fork out some money. We can learn from them and make that thing in Zhuangzi that can spread information very quickly. When there is a problem, we can find someone to help. If there is a disease, we can treat it. If there is a fire, we can also help our neighbors. If we don't do it now, they will have a lot more grain than us during the autumn harvest. I don't know if it is a blessing or a curse to have such a neighbor. Guangxi had no other choice but to follow along. Fortunately, they did not keep some things a secret and even invited him to join them. Chapter 92. While the owners of the Zhang, Wang, and Gu manors and the farmers had their own thoughts, County Magistrate Cheng of the Sanshui County Yamen was also making urgent arrangements. The people who came down to check on the situation said that they would arrive at noon. Before noon, County Magistrate Cheng led a group of people out to welcome them. Compared to the last time, County Magistrate Cheng was much more relieved this time. At least he knew who was coming this time. At the same time, he was not afraid of any internal problems. After getting 3 caddies of soaked wood ear, Chief Secretary Zhao Xiang was no longer as rigid as before. When he had nothing to do, he would ask for some carrots and put them in when making stir-fried meat slices with wood ear for his daughter. Seeing that his daughter could eat more, he thought that Zhangzhe Zhuangzi would not do anything, so he helped to hide it. After waiting for less than an hour, the person this time arrived much earlier than the previous time. He's coming, he's coming. My uncle is coming. Zhou Shihu also joined the welcoming team this time. When he saw the smoke from afar, he shouted excitedly. Everyone around him felt that it was wrong of him to do so. They even hoped that he would be happier. This meant that he had a good relationship with his uncle. If they had a good relationship, the Yamen would spend less effort. As the smoke and dust got closer, the public carriage in the team was also revealed. There were many people, all of whom looked very powerful. However, if one looked carefully, one would find that this time, not only did the capital send a person to check on the situation, but also some rich playboys. We have to spend more money to entertain them again. Many people thought so. One of the Yamen runners even said it out loud. Shut up, don't talk nonsense. This means that the people above value our Sanshui County. Which place can still make water come out of a dry well during a drought? County Magistrate Cheng glared at the Yamen runner and reprimanded him in a low voice. The others around them all showed an expression of yes, but they knew in their hearts that everything was caused by the Zhang family's farmstead. Although they didn't know how they did it, the facts were irrefutable. Please forgive me for not welcoming you from afar. When the public carriage stopped, County Magistrate Cheng walked over first and saluted as he spoke. The other people in the Yamen stood behind and saluted as well. At this time it was not their turn to speak. Zhou Shihu wanted to speak several times, but he held back. If he spoke now, not only would he not be praised by his uncle, but he would also be scolded for being unreasonable. Well, thank you for your hard work, County Magistrate Cheng. It's okay, we just arrived. Come, County Magistrate Cheng, let me introduce you. This is Assistant Minister Wei of the Ministry of Works and Assistant Minister Shen of the Ministry of Rights. Zhou Qiong, the military officer in charge of Feng Province, got off the carriage first. After the people in the carriage behind also got off, he introduced them to County Magistrate Cheng. As for the others, he didn't say much. They were just here for sightseeing, and all of them could come here because of their family's position. County Magistrate Cheng was stunned when he heard Zhou Shihu's introduction. He did not expect that there would be 2 assistant ministers, one from the Ministry of Works and the other from the Ministry of Rights. He knew the roles of these two people. The Ministry of Works was in charge of water conservancy and so on, while the Ministry of Rights was in charge of auspicious signs. Logically speaking, it wasn't a big deal for the two of them to come over, but their ranks were really too high. Which assistant minister would go down when they had nothing to do? There were so many places suffering from drought, so how could there be so many assistant ministers going to every place? What's more, these two people came directly to the county instead of the prefecture for the first time. It was unreasonable. Thinking of this, County Magistrate Chang didn't dare to show any hesitation or neglect on his face. He went forward to greet them one by one. Assistant Minister Wei and Assistant Minister Shen were polite and didn't ignore him. They nodded slightly as a greeting. After all, this was a fourth-grade official, and he wouldn't come here easily. His visit this time was a great honor to Sanshui County. County Magistrate Chang, let's put other things aside for now. Take me to the well to take a look. I didn't expect an auspicious sign to appear in your Sanshui County during this drought. I'm in charge of the prefecture this time. Many people are happy about this. Zhou Shihu's uncle Zhou Shihu said to County Magistrate Chang with a smile. At the same time, he glanced at his excited nephew. When County Magistrate Chang heard this, he paused for a moment. He wasn't a young man who didn't know much. From these words, he already knew that there was an auspicious sign in this place. Even if the prefecture obtained many benefits, his contribution would not be small. These were not the most important thing. The most important thing was that this auspicious sign was very important to the people in charge. Not only did the people in the neighboring prefectures know about it, but their attitude was not good. It was said that many people were happy for the auspicious sign. It was more accurate to say that they thought Sanshui County was lying. Otherwise, if there was no auspicious sign in their prefectures when they encountered drought, it could only mean that they did not do a good job for the local people. County Magistrate Chang understood that Zhou Shihu's uncle had informed him in advance and asked him to make good arrangements. If something went wrong with the auspicious sign, he would not be able to protect Zhou Shihu. Thinking of this, County Magistrate Chang said gratefully, "Since you are here, you must want to see the auspicious sign first. This way, please. The auspicious sign is in the county." While speaking, he led the way in front. The others who were supposed to get on the car got on the car, and those who were supposed to walk still walked. They walked toward the well in a mighty manner. Zhou Shihu was relieved. Originally, he thought that the auspicious sign here was fake. Seeing that County Magistrate Chang was so sure, he no longer had any worries. Before getting on the car, Zhou Shihu glanced at his nephew. At this time, Zhou Shihu became clever and said, "Military Advisor Sitsong, I am the person who made the curved plow. I have something important to tell you." While speaking, he did not care about the others and directly followed his uncle to the car. Those who did not know his identity only felt that he had crossed the line. Those who knew his identity did not have any expression. The uncle and the nephew had something to say. Was it possible to stop them here? This time, County Magistrate Chang did not sit in the car alone. He also called the chief secretary. When the group slowly moved toward the well, he said to the chief secretary Jifeng, "What do you think of this matter?" The chief secretary Zhao Xiang did not keep a straight face this time. He moved the corners of his mouth and said, "Sir, these people are strange. Look, there is an official in charge of taxation from the prefecture, an official named Xiangrui, and an official in charge of water conservancy. These three people are basically in charge of everything. It looks like this, but there is another point. That is, why didn't the higher-ups send an official in charge of taxation? Why did they send someone from the prefecture instead? There are already 2 level 4 assistant ministers here. There won't be a lack of one more. In this case, it can only be said that the prefecture is doing its best this time. This time, the prefecture does not want to make any mistakes in this matter. It seems that they want to reduce the burden of Sanshui County. With Sir Zhou, they can do whatever they want in terms of taxation. Oh, you mean that this time I should ask for more benefits? Make the disaster report more severe? County Magistrate Chang also had his own plans. He just wanted to hear other people's opinions. When he heard Zhao Xiang's words, he felt that they happened to coincide, so he asked. Who would have thought that Zhao Xiang had no such intention at all? He shook his head and said, Darren, the prefecture is indeed thinking this way. However, this lowly official thinks that it would be better to help the prefecture this time. The Zhang family's farmstead has black fungus. This time, the county's harvest will definitely be reduced by a lot. But the higher-ups do not ask us to hand in the grain directly. The grain is distributed to the local government as the official's salary. If the grain is not enough, we can use other money and silk to exchange for the official's salary. What is sent to the higher-ups is usually money and grain. This is what I think. This year's drought is a foregone conclusion. Usually we hand in money and silk. This year we should do the opposite. If we hand in the grain, it will not be enough for the county's needs. Then we can use money to buy grain from outside. This money will be paid by Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. As for the loss, 1,500 or 600 taels of silver should be enough, at most 2,000 taels of silver. The head of the department, Zhao Xiang, gritted his teeth and persuaded. This time he knew that Zhangzhe Zhuangzi would lose a lot of money, but there was no other way. Now, only he and the county magistrate could be promoted. The others could not be promoted. If they handed in enough grain, there would be more people who could be promoted. When he and the county magistrate were promoted, the people below could also directly take over these two positions. Sanshui County would still be in the hands of their own people. They could also take good care of Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. Zhangzhe Zhuangzi had so many wood ears. If they did not use them now, when should they wait? County Magistrate Cheng also understood his meaning. Wei Wei nodded, that's right. With this drought, not only will there be less grain, there will also be less wood ears in the surrounding areas. Zhangzhe Zhuangzi can sell a lot of money, but will they be willing to? They have already spent a lot of money. The people in the yamen also get a lot of food and drink from there. What Milord is worried about is that we can send someone to tell them. This way, when we are promoted, there will be people at the top, but the local government will still be our people. Zhangzhe Zhuangzi will not only be a little bit of food, but even if they kill someone, they will be able to stop Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. The master on Zhuangzi is not an ordinary person. Zhao Xiang also knew that if it was an ordinary person, they would not agree. But was Zhangzhe Zhuangzi ordinary? The things they did were always unpredictable, but they could always get a lot of benefits. Alright, then let's try. If it really doesn't work, let them take out less. County Magistrate Cheng felt that this was the best way. There was no harm in trying. If it worked, he could be promoted and Sanshui County would also be under his control. The two of them could be considered to have made a decision. Zhou Shihu was also showing off his achievements to his uncle. He told him about the money he had earned during this period. Chapter 93. With a smile on his face, Zhou Shihu listened to his nephew talk about what kind of business he did, how he did it, how much he earned, how much he spent, and what he bought for his family. Seeing that his nephew was so happy, he didn't disturb him and just listened. In fact, he didn't care how much his nephew earned. He only cared if his nephew bullied people on the street like Haizholi and didn't do anything for a day. From these words, he knew that his nephew, who had always been a bad learner, had changed into a different person ever since he started doing business with the Zhang family's manor. He no longer played with the people he used to play with. All day long he was thinking about how to sell things. Also, when he sold things, the local people praised him. For example, although his nephew made money, the local people always said that he was good. When talking about this, Zhou Shihu was especially energetic. He said that if the people didn't have money and still needed to farm, he would ask for less money. Some people even rented to the people first and wait for the autumn harvest. There were also people who came to buy plows who kept coughing. He even found a doctor to treat them. For the first time, Zhou Shihu dared to speak to his uncle so confidently. He felt that he didn't do anything wrong, unlike before when he had nothing to do all day long. Every time his uncle asked, he didn't know what to say and could only lower his head. In the future, this nephew is going to do business with Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. They said that there are still many business deals. I saw a necklace made of big pearls in Zhanbao Pavilion. The asking price is 600 taels of silver. I originally had that much money, but I was afraid that after spending it, I wouldn't have enough capital to do other business, so I didn't buy it. The next time I do business with Zhangzhe Zhuangzi, I will buy that necklace and give it to my mother. My mother's birthday is in 2 months. Tomorrow, I will go and urge Zhang Zhuangzi to complete a business deal within this period of time. There is also a bracelet that is not bad. When I earn enough money, I will buy it and give it to my aunt. These days, I didn't spend much money to eat at the restaurant. It was all the people who wanted to buy things for me. I brought home the food that I couldn't finish and gave it to the servants. They all said that I am good. Zhou Shihu didn't stop talking. He couldn't wait to tell his uncle everything that had happened to him. Zhou Qiong had been listening the whole time. Suddenly, he asked, "Why did you bring her back? Aren't you afraid that others will call you stingy? What do you mean by petty? Even if they don't eat it, they'll throw it away. The servants at home can't eat it even if they want to. It's not spoiled. Last time, I personally went to deliver a plow to a villager. I saw that the food they were eating was from the day before yesterday. They were still eating it even after 2 days. I didn't get sick after eating it. When I looked at it, I thought that I shouldn't have thrown away so many things in the past. In the past, when I bought things to eat, I spent my family's money. Now I know that it's not easy to make money. I have to manage the craftsmen and look at the price. Selling a plow only earns a few copper coins, so of course I have to be frugal." Zhou Shihu started talking again. He even stretched out his hand for his uncle to see. There were 2 wounds on his hand that he had accidentally touched with the plow. When Zhou Qiong heard this, he finally smiled. His nephew was sensible. He knew that it wasn't easy to make money. He knew how to be filial to his parents. He also knew how to be considerate of the common people. Nothing could make him happier than this. As for the money he earned, it didn't matter if it was more or less. Even if he lost it, he could accept it. "Uncle, please don't tell my mother that I want to buy things for her. My mother will definitely complain that I'm wasting money. When I went back, I measured it. That necklace on my mother's neck made her look even better. She's even prettier than my father's new concubine. And that bracelet as well. Uncle, you'll know once you put it on my aunt. My aunt is fair, so with that light green bracelet she'll look even younger." "Uncle, what's wrong? Why are your eyes red? Is it because it's too dry? Is it because it's stuffy in the carriage? It's like this now, but when we get there, you'll know. The well water is very delicious. It's very cooling. Just 1 sip and you'll feel comfortable from inside out. Winter here is different from other places. Nephew learned how to make a kong from Zhang Zhuangzi. Lying on it is really warm." Zhou Shihu saw that his uncle's eyes were a little red. He thought that it was stuffy in the carriage, so he lifted the curtain a little and continued talking. "Yes, it's stuffy. It's good to see the well water. Xiao Hu, tell uncle, what do you plan to do in the future?" Zhou Qiong used his sleeve to wipe the corner of his eyes and asked with relief. "Plan? Nephew, I really don't know. I just want to do business with Zhang Zhuangzi. They gave me all the profitable deals. Actually, I know that if I was alone, they wouldn't even bother with me. It's all uncle behind me. They want to curry favor with uncle. I did earn some money, but I didn't keep all of it for myself. I returned some to them. Uncle, that Zhang Zhuangzi is really amazing. They come up with one idea after another to make money. I'm not afraid that I won't have anything to do in the future. Uncle, you have to protect that Zhang Zhuangzi well. Only with them around can I do business." Zhou Shihu became shrewd at this time. Zhou Qiong shook his head. How could he not know about his nephew's little cleverness? Zhang Zhuangzi indeed had to be protected. It wasn't that they cared about the little money his nephew earned, but that his nephew had become more sensible after working with them. A prodigal son had turned over a new leaf. No amount of money could buy that. "Uncle, you have to say something. Zhang Zhuangzi doesn't have it easy. They will react at the slightest sign of trouble. The wood ear that I gave you last time was also from them. You might not know, but that wood ear was planted by them. They even said that they will let me help them sell the mushrooms they grow in the future. Amazing, right? Wood ear can be planted. Now that there's a drought, there are even less wood ear here. The same goes for mushrooms. They are now telling me how to make the mushrooms into delicious dishes. I bought some and made them for my mother. My mother even praised me for it. I made it myself and didn't let anyone else help." Speaking of this, Zhou Shihu felt very happy, especially when he saw his parents constantly praising him when they ate. He wished that he could cook every day. Good, Xiaohu's cooking will definitely be delicious. When we go back, Xiaohu will also make a meal for uncle. Zhou Qiong could imagine how terrible his nephew's cooking would be. His nephew had never cooked before, and his knife skills were not good enough. However, he knew that if he cooked for his parents, it would be the best thing in the world. Even the imperial chef could not compare. Zhou Shihu saw the expression on his uncle's face and knew what his uncle was thinking. He sighed and said, "Uncle, I know what you are thinking. Don't you think that I don't know how to cook? Let me tell you, it's not like that. In the recipe that Zhangzhe Zhuangzi gave me, he wrote down how much to put in each ingredient. I let the accountant read it and used a scale to weigh everything. He even wrote down the temperature of the fire. They also gave me something. It's a light yellow thing that looks like a grain of rice. If you put it in the dish, it will taste more delicious." "Oh, there's something else? What is it? Is it really that delicious when put in the dish?" Zhou Qiong still did not believe it, but he followed his nephew's words to make him feel better. Uncle, why don't you believe it? All the restaurants in the county want to buy that thing from them. Costs 1 tael of silver per tael, and they only buy 1 tael of silver per month. They use it on special dishes. I didn't even ask for the recipe. Even if I did ask, they wouldn't tell me." Zhou Shihu was a little helpless. Why didn't his uncle believe him? As they were talking, the carriage stopped. Just when everyone thought that they had arrived, someone brought a bowl of hot soup in front of them. There were fungus-soaked cucumbers and eggs. There was a layer of chopped green onions floating on top of the soup. There were 2 youtiao beside it. Of course, they did not know that it was called youtiao. At this time, County Magistrate Chang came to the side of the carriage of the 3 most important people and said, "Sirs, it will take an hour to get there. I was afraid that you would be hungry, so I casually prepared some food to eat first." After hearing his words, everyone understood. They had rushed all the way here without rest, so they were indeed a little hungry. Smelling the soup, they ate a mouthful of the youtiao, drank a mouthful of the soup, and ate all kinds of small dishes. Now they all felt that they were not satisfied. However, they had eaten all the food and drank the soup, so it was not good to ask for more. "Why is this soup different from the ones we drank before? It's fresh. Dried cucumbers can be so fresh after soaking them. What is this staple food? It's crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. The small pickles also have a special spicy taste." Commander Seetsong Zhou Qiong finished the food but still did not have enough. He glanced at the food that his nephew had not touched and praised. Zhou Shihu seemed to have known that this would happen. He pushed the food in front of his uncle and said, "Uncle, have a taste. Isn't it very delicious? Especially the soup and the small pickles. The taste is better than the ones made in the same big restaurants." "It's good. Little Hu, you eat." Zhou Qiong really wanted to eat, but he felt a little embarrassed. "Uncle, your nephew has already eaten. I have that thing that can make such a delicious soup. You can eat it whenever you want. The soup and pickles are like this because of that thing. It's a pity that they sell very little of it and only sell it to the 3 restaurants here. The county yamen will send some to me, but they don't sell the rest. They only started selling it last night. It is said that they are going to build a restaurant and sell it there in the future. Uncle, you should eat quickly. Otherwise it will get cold." As Zhou Shihu spoke, he took out a small paper bag from his chest and carefully opened it for his uncle to see. Zhou Qiong did not hold back this time. He picked up the bowl and drank. He exhaled and asked, "Is it really because of the thing in your hand? You can't get the recipe?" Chapter 94. I can't get it. They didn't even mention the recipe. Uncle, think about it. No one would hand over such a good thing. Zhou Shihu said helplessly. Seeing that his uncle was about to speak, he said, "Uncle, I know what you want to say. Isn't it just to see what they usually buy? I've already arranged for people to watch them. However, they bought almost everything. They even sent people to the market to pick up things. At night, after the people in the market had left, they would send people to pick up things. If they could eat something, they would pick it up. Rotten fish and smelly shrimps. First, I thought they were good things. Later, I found out that they were drying these things and grinding them into powder to feed the chickens. They also bought some rice and flour. In the past, it was soybeans. Later, they said that soybeans were poisonous, so they stopped. They also stopped selling vegetable oil. Only then did I know that the vegetable oil was soybean oil. I also wanted to know how they got the oil. I even stir-fried the soybeans a few times. It was quite fragrant. Unfortunately, there was no oil. Later, I asked people to soak it in water to get the oil out. In the end, it sprouted 2 inches long. It was quite good when stir-fried with meat. I even complained to Song Jinggong, who had been helping to contact them. I didn't expect that Song Jinggong would really go back and tell him. The next day he gave me a recipe. It was a recipe for sliced chicken and scallion oil with bean sprouts. Oh, is it delicious? Uncle hasn't eaten it yet. Zhou Qiong asked with a smile. It's delicious. On the 3rd day, they told me that the bean sprouts can be eaten without the tail. As long as it's cooked in boiling oil and stir-fried with shredded meat, it will be tender and crispy. I made it too. It was indeed so. Zhou Shihu said with a depressed face. Ha ha ha. Zhou Qiong finally couldn't help but laugh. At the same time, he was even more curious about Zhang Zhuangzi. His nephew was fooling around, and the other side was actually able to give him a recipe immediately. This was not simple. If that's the case, why don't you sell this with them? You can give them more money. I did, but they didn't agree. They told me not to worry and that there will be new things to sell soon. Not only in this province but also in other provinces. They will sell to those small shops that specialize in selling salt and soy sauce. What they sell is soy sauce. I'm looking for people to go to other provinces to look for merchants. They're not selling them at a high price. The price they gave me was 5 copper coins for 2 caddies. If I were to sell them for 10 copper coins for 3 caddies, I don't need to share the money with them. Now that there's a drought in many places, the price of beans is expensive. By selling them like this, they're really helping the people. Zhou Shihu counted with his fingers as he spoke to his uncle. But you didn't earn much, did you? Not much. That depends on the amount. They said that they can give me 5,000 don of soy sauce in the beginning and 50,000 don of soy sauce in the future. I need to get salt for them. They can't buy that much salt. Isn't that a lot? I don't know how long it will take to sell all the soy sauce. It's best if the people under you know how to do things and sell the soy sauce to further places. Zhou Shihu was now wondering how Zhang Zhuangzi could get so many soybeans to make soy sauce and dared to lower the price so much. Hearing these words, Zhou Qiong did not look as relaxed as before. The Zhang family's manner did this to help suppress the price of some things in the province, so that those who wanted to speculate would not dare to make a move. This was a big deal. 55,000 sure worth of soy sauce, just hearing it was enough to scare people. He knew that some of the information he got from his nephew might not be true. He shouted outside, "County Magistrate Chung, please come over. I have something to ask." County Magistrate Chung was thinking about how to make the people above stay in the county, and only let Zhou Xiu go to Zhang Zhuangzi to take a look. When he heard Zhou Xiu calling for him, he didn't dare to delay. He got down from his seat and entered Zhou Xiu's car. He asked respectfully, "Sir, what do you want to ask this humble official? Do you know that Zhang Zhuangzi wants to sell soy sauce?" Zhou Xiu asked directly. Yes, they want to lower the price of food. Not only soy sauce but also a lot of eggs in 2 days. They can buy 1 gene of eggs at a time and the price is very cheap. Chickens need to be eaten. Once the price of eggs is lowered, the price of food can't increase. I have already ordered people to block the roads leading to the outside of this county. If they find anything transporting food, they will stop it. County Magistrate Chung was a little excited when he talked about this matter. Zhang family and Wang family of Zhuangzi were almost losing money to help him suppress the price of food. If Sanshui County was stricter, they didn't have to worry about the people not being able to eat. They made a lot of money and didn't hesitate to spend money. Zhou Xiu was in charge of taxation. Of course, he knew that County Magistrate Chung would win a lot of praise if the price was stabilized. Why did Zhang Zhuangzi do this? Are you in contact with them? Yes, they have been helping me in all aspects. As long as I am in a little trouble, Zhang Zhuangzi will use his means. I have always regarded the person who takes care of me as my master. I have discussed with Song Jinggong several times that I want to be apprenticed to him, but he didn't agree. I think they are testing me. At this time, County Magistrate Chung did not try to hide anything. He said everything that could be said. He knew that Zhou Qiong and he were together, so there was no need to hide anything from this kind of thing that was not a secret. Anyone with a discerning eye would understand at a glance. Zhou Xiu pondered for a while and asked again, "Can you ask for their recipe?" "I don't know. I don't dare to ask for it. That will stop people from making money. I still want to be apprenticed to a master." County Magistrate Cheng told the truth. "Well, I see. We are almost there, right?" Zhou Xiu didn't want to force County Magistrate Cheng. County Magistrate Cheng was still taking care of his family. "Almost there. I will go back first. I will come back later." County Magistrate Cheng knew that Zhou Xiu wanted him to leave. He nodded and stopped the carriage. He bowed and left. After a while they finally arrived at the place. As soon as they got off the carriage, they saw that there were many people there. Everyone had something to fetch water beside them. Some people squeezed out of the crowd and left with water. In addition to these people, there were people kneeling there and burning incense. There was a lot of water in the surrounding area. It was wet. The place that was surrounded by people should be the dry well. These people from above were ready to drive the others away. Before they could give orders, County Magistrate Cheng stood up and shouted, "Folks, please make way. The Imperial Court has sent people to look at this well." The people didn't even hesitate and made way. From this, one could see County Magistrate Cheng's prestige in the county. Everyone saw that a well without a platform appeared in front of them. There were also tools to fetch water beside it. These people were fetching water from here. Everyone gathered around to take a look. As they watched, they asked questions, especially the surrounding commoners. They were all called over for questioning. After some questioning, they had to admit that this was indeed an auspicious sign. During a drought, the dry well actually produced water. Some people even said that they saw the heavens use lightning to split the well. With a boom, there was water in the well. Some people said that they saw an immortal pass by the well. He lamented that it was dry here, so he used the thunder summoning technique to help blow up the well. There were all kinds of theories, but no matter which one it was, they all heard a loud boom. The people who came took note of this. Even if they had completed this task, they returned to the carriage and let the people continue fetching water. Some people even asked people to find things to hold water. They fetched some water so that they could drink tea when they returned. After a busy period, County Magistrate Cheng didn't wait for the people to have other thoughts. He asked them to go somewhere else to eat. He said that he wanted them to taste the specialties of Sanshui County. It was also a kind of action to help the people. When the people saw that everyone had left, they were more convinced of this auspicious sign. They went back to fetch water with pious expressions. "Don't rush. Slow down. Seems that we have to buy some kelp. There are too few people selling kelp here. When can we find a place by the sea that specializes in collecting kelp?" In Zhangzhe Wang Wan said to Huzi, who was working there. Then she began to whisper to him. The thing that could enhance the taste was monosodium glutamate. It was boiled from kelp. She and Zhang Xiaobao knew how to make it. As for industrial processing, they couldn't do anything. After the kelp was boiled, it was taken out. It could be made into soup or used for other purposes. As long as the remaining water was dried, the monosodium glutamate would be deposited at the bottom. Since kelp was not easy to buy and there was not a lot of it, besides selling it to the 3 restaurants to help with branding, only the Yamen and Joshi could get some of it. The rest of the monosodium glutamate was kept. They were going to wait for the opening of the restaurants here. They also wanted to give some to Joshihu's uncle. When the time came, if others wanted to eat it, they could only come here. Even if they specifically wanted to buy the monosodium glutamate, when they passed by between the clouds and the water restaurant, they would go up and take a look. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about this matter. He held a piece of kelp in his hand and ground his teeth. Wang Wan saw that he didn't care, so she nudged him. "Can you think of another way? This is all money." "Think of another way? What way?" "I know that there are many things that can be made with monosodium glutamate, but I have to know how to do it. The process is complicated. Just hold on for a while. When the time comes, we will go to the seaside to collect it. This thing is not eaten by people. They are either fed to the ducks or thrown everywhere." Zhang Xiaobao swallowed a mouthful of kelp foam and answered with his head tilted. See, this place is not close to the sea. It will take more than half a month to get there. When Zhou Shihu's uncle comes, have you thought of what to use to treat him? If there's no other way, we can eat dumplings. That thing is dipped in soy sauce. We have a lot of soy sauce, so we can eat steamed buns. Wang Wan didn't know what to do about this. She had already asked Erhu to go out. The last time he went there it was to buy stones. This time it was to buy kelp or to pick up kelp. This thing was not eaten by people there. Don't always think about soy sauce. Eat steamed buns. What if people like to eat goobily steamed buns? That thing is authentic and only dipped in vinegar. Uzi, that's enough. Let's take it out. We will eat kelp for the next few days. Zhang Xiaobao stared at the other side and shouted to stop. He was worried about the cooked kelp. I have something to discuss with everyone. There is a recommendation list for historical novels. I am currently ranked 8. If I can reach the top 5, I will update 4 times a day. If I appear on the recommendation list, I will update 5 times a day. Clickable list is also fine. But clickable list is not easy to get. Another book I recommend. King Daoji Model Competition. Everyone go and take a look. It is written well. Don't give your recommendation tickets to him. Chapter 95. Black clouds rolled and the ink like wind blew. The new branches swayed and the seedlings fell into the water. Last night the sky was still clear. Who would have thought that before they even woke up in the morning? A strong wind rolled in dark clouds and covered the entire sky. The villagers in the farmstead thought that there would be a heavy rain, so they all put on their clothes and stood outside the door, ignoring the flapping of the windows from the wind. The sky was supposed to be bright, but at this time it was still dark. The surrounding trees were swaying back and forth in the wind. As the farmers waited for the heavy rain to fall, they suddenly thought that many of the rice seedlings in the fields might be blown over. They couldn't wait any longer. They put on their bamboo hats and hurried to the fields. The fallen seedlings had to be helped up as soon as possible. The farmers in Zhuangzi on the Zhang family and Wang family and the Gu family on Zhuangzi also started to move. Not only did the adults come out, but the children also wanted to help. In the end, when the farmers in Zhang family and Wang family arrived at the fields, what they saw was not a patch of fallen seedlings. Only a few seedlings had fallen, and there were other seedlings beside them. There was no need to help them up. It was just that some of the seedlings had fallen. When the wind stopped, they just had to move some of the seedlings from the denser areas. The farmers who felt a little strange began to walk towards the Gu family's Zhuangzi area to see if it was the same as here. When they arrived, they saw that the Gu family's Zhuangzi people had all jumped into the water and were helping the seedlings up one by one. There was even a woman who was crying. In the past, the Zhang family and Wang family's Zhuangzi people wouldn't care at all. After all, it wasn't their own land. Today, however, there were people who jumped into the water to help. After eating and wearing warm clothes, they could think of helping others. With so many people joining in, the speed at which the seedlings were being helped up also increased. Even if some seedlings fell back down, no one gave up. If they didn't do anything at this time, the seedlings could easily drown. The Gu family's Zhuangzi people thought that the Zhang family and Wang family's people were here to watch the show. Now that they saw that they were here to help, they were grateful but also doubtful. Could it be that they didn't care about their own seedlings? Little Wang, come and help. Where's your land? Don't want it anymore? Go back quickly. The main family is so good to you. If you can't deliver the food when the harvest comes, how can you face the main family? A farmer in Zhuangzi of the Gu family advised the people who had come to his family's land. There's no need. The seedlings in my family's field are fine. Compared to yours, they're stronger and taller. Do you think there will be heavy rain today? Little Wang Zi looked at the rice seedlings in the field. Compared to his own, he realized that the difference between the rice seedlings on both sides was quite large. Really? What kind of seeds do you have at home? The people from the Gu family in Zhuangzi did not believe it, but since they were here to help, they must be fine. Otherwise, they would be busy with their own things. As he spoke, he raised his head to look at the sky. It was so dark that it seemed like it would fall at any moment. However, not a single drop of rain fell. Little Wang Zi continued to bend over to support the seedlings. He raised his arm to wipe off the water that splashed on his face. I'm not lying. It's the same seeds as usual. But this time, the seeds were given by the main family. The grains left at home to be used as seeds can be eaten. Of course, little Wang Zi did not know that the seeds had been soaked in lime water by his family's young master and his wife, Cuckoo. They had done everything they could think of to increase the yield and prevent the disease. They had put in a lot of effort when selecting the seeds. They had also done some processing during the breeding process. When the seedlings were grown, they had also fertilized the seedlings well. With the addition of good fertilizer and wheat flower stones, and the use of the seedling throwing technique, the seedlings grew faster and stronger than other people's seedlings. A strong wind had proven all of this. According to Wang Wan's words, we have to let Zhuangzi win at the starting line with the grain. The people in the Gu family's manor straightened up and shook their backs. Looking at the slightly brighter sky, they felt that it was hot and unbearable. The clouds were still as dark as ever, pressing down even lower. It was dawn, but the sun was rising. It was not going to clear up. I don't believe you. If it's really the original seeds, why are they better than mine? Is it because the fertilizer is better? Tell me, what kind of fertilizer did you use? We have all kinds of stuff. Some of the fertilizer from our family, and the fertilizer prepared by the main family last year. There's nothing else. Little Wang Zi really did not know why. Even if there was something different, he did not say it. Who would be willing to tell others their family's recipe? With so many people working together, the main family was naturally alarmed. When the main family of the Zhang family and Wang family heard that the farmers had gone to help the Gu family in Zhuangzi, they hurriedly asked the housekeeper to check. When the housekeeper saw the seedlings on his side of the field, he was stunned. When they went out, they thought that the farmers would not be able to help the seedlings by simply throwing them away. Now that they looked at it, it was not the case at all. They did not need to care about the seedlings at all. They moved with the wind. Some of them had already touched the water surface. When the wind passed, they straightened up again. It was really amazing. Old Wang, why do I feel that the seedlings are like humans standing there? They get up when they fall. Even if some of them are weaker and fall, their roots will not be pulled out. If it was last year, many seedlings would be floating on the water surface. Housekeeper Zhang stood on the ridge of the field and said to the equally surprised housekeeper Wang. Housekeeper Wang also had the same feeling. When the little seedlings stubbornly fought against the strong wind, he couldn't help but want to cheer. In his eyes, these seedlings had become little babies with small arms and legs. They stood there chubby, energetic and cute. Who said it wasn't? After so many years of farming, this is the first time I've seen it. I don't even want to go back. I'm willing to stay here and watch. Look at those two strong seedlings. They are even blocking the wind for the seedlings behind. Let's not go back first. Let's go to Zhuangzi to take a look. At this time, housekeeper Wang felt that the wind was so cool and refreshing. He also felt more energetic. He called out and walked towards Gu family's Zhuangzi. When the two of them arrived at Gu family's Zhuangzi side, they saw their own farmers helping there. When they got closer, they shook their heads at the same time. The seedlings were too weak. They could not be compared to their own seedlings. As long as they were blown away, they would not be able to get up again. Many seedlings floated up and spun on the water surface. In the Gu family's farmstead, there were farmers who were hoping for a good harvest by autumn. While they were busy putting the rice seedlings back, they were also wiping their tears. The children were also sensible enough to help. They imitated the adults and moved mechanically. Their eyes were full of confusion and helplessness, making people feel sad when they looked at them. The farmers from the Zhang and Wang estates who helped had calm expressions on their faces. After all, it wasn't their own family. They would help as much as they could. As for the harvest, they couldn't control it. They didn't have the ability to do so even if they wanted to. At the same time, they were also glad that their master's family was so capable. Even in such a strong wind, the rice sprouts stood in the wind and didn't fall. When someone saw the housekeeper of the main family coming over, he thought that the housekeeper was asking them to go back. He came forward and explained, "Steward Zhang, there is no problem on our side. When the wind passes, we can help those that fell over. They are quite pitiful here. Yes, we are not in a hurry to go back. It's a pity that..." Steward Zhang was not as difficult to talk to as before. He did not ask anyone to go back. He wanted to say something but did not know how to start. He could not tell the farmers that it was a pity that Gu family did not have people like the young master and young lady in Zhuangzi. Gu Yingxi also came over with the housekeeper. Looking at the situation in the field, his face was ugly. He tightly pursed his lips and frowned. His fists on both sides of his body were tightly clenched. He was the one who felt the most distressed. If there was less food, he wouldn't dare to collect more rent. He couldn't just watch the farmers starve to death in front of him. It would be fine if the government reduced the rent, but if they didn't, then he would have to compensate for his losses. Master, you have to think of something quickly. It's useless to just support them like this. What if there's another heavy rain later? Some of the broken seedlings will be washed away by the water. If there's really no other way, we have to rush to replant them. Housekeeper Gu also had a distressed look. He looked up at the sky and said worriedly, "We still need to support them. You go back quickly and ask all the servants in the yard to come here. They can help a little." Are these the farmers of Zhang family and Wang family in Zhuangzi? Why don't they care about their own family and come here to help? Guingxi did not want to give up. Seeing that the manpower was still not enough, he even asked the people of the main family to call. At the same time, he was puzzled about the people of Zhang family and Lai family coming here. Gumura Mesa also came here? If there is no other way, I will go back and discuss with Master and give some seedlings to this side. Maybe it will work. Housekeeper Wang saw Guingxi and came over to say. Guingxi just realized that the two housekeepers also came. Just now, he was concerned about the situation in the field and did not look to the side. What? Zhang family seedlings in Zhuangzi are better than mine? Guingxi felt that he could still afford to give some seedlings, but the farmers could not. It is not much better. It is just a strong wind blowing and not falling. Of course we can't help for free. Housekeeper Gu, you have to give us 3 times the amount of seedlings. Housekeeper Wang's face was indifferent. He felt that it was reasonable to say that the seedlings were good. Guingxi was stunned and suddenly said, "I don't believe it. Let me go and see." After saying that, he did not care about this side and hurriedly crossed the small bridge and came to the Wang family's Zhuangzi land. He stood there and looked carefully. He was speechless. Compared to the seedlings on both sides, his side was like a child without milk. Their arms and legs were thin, and the other side was as strong as a calf. No wonder they all went to my house to help. It turns out that they did not care about their seedlings at all. What happened to Zhang family and Wang family in less than a year? It is fine if they have a way to make money, but the seedlings are also like this. This is too much. They are clearly the same seedlings, not a new type of seedling. After muttering a few words, Guingxi finally made up his mind. He turned around and ran back. When he saw Steward Zhang and Steward Wang, who were still standing there, he begged, "Just now I didn't know how to be reasonable. 3 times the amount of food here, please help me say something." There are 2 more chapters. Chapter 96. It was almost noon. The clouds had not dispersed and the wind was still howling. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finally had enough sleep. When the sky was overcast, they wanted to sleep. They got up and ate something. The 2 of them rode the cart made by the carpenter and went outside to see how Zhuangzi was doing. The 2 of them sat in front and behind. The cart was made of wood and had no chains. Both wheels had to be pedaled. The person sitting in front was responsible for controlling the direction. The person behind was more tired and had to keep up with the person in front. There were 2 pieces of wood at the back of the cart. There were 2 small wheels on top of the wood to maintain balance. The wheels were 3 inches wide and 5 inches in diameter. They would not fall over even if they stood there. "Xiaobao, do you think it will rain heavily? If it does, we should release the water." This time Wang Wan was in front. She was controlling the direction while asking, "How would I know? We will talk about it later. We are not in a hurry to release the water. If we release the water and there is no rain, how are we going to survive these few months? Millet, wheat, rice and sorghum all need water. The vegetable field cannot be lacking. The trees cannot be withered. There is also water for daily life." Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan from the corner of his eyes. The 2 of them were moving at the same time. The cart moved forward slowly. It was not as fast as the 2 of them running. The main reason was that they did not want others to serve them. If they went out alone, they would be afraid of falling. But if they rode the cart, they would not have to worry about falling. Zhang Xiaobao replied to Wang Wan. In his heart, He was thinking about whether to give the county the 1,500 taels of silver. He could take out this amount of money. He still had a lot of money left. If he made those burned beans and sold them as soy sauce, he could make a lot of money. 55,000 dan. For every 5 jin he could make 2 copper coins. According to this price, he could make almost 32 copper coins per dan. If he sold all these, he could make 1,740 taels of silver. The main reason was that he did not spend any money on soybeans. As for whether he could sell them and where he sold them, it was up to him. If he wanted to make money, he had to sell them. Logically speaking, he should give the money. He did not lose money. If he really lost money, it was because he exchanged the wood ear for soybeans. He lost some money. What are you thinking about? Why haven't you spoken for a long time? Wang Wan noticed that Zhang Xiaobao was silent, so she turned her head and asked, "Didn't County Magistrate Chung say that he wants money from us? I was just thinking whether to give it to him or not. If it were up to me, I wouldn't give it to him. Why should I give him so much money? Our family's money doesn't come from nowhere. How much have we helped him? Give me an inch and you want a mile? Why don't we give him less? It's not easy for him. This is also considered an investment. Don't those Western countries do this a lot?" Wang Wan was definitely not a child. She still understood some things. In the beginning, she said that she would not give it to him, but later on she compromised. "And then I'll give it to him. But I definitely can't give it to him directly. I want to exchange it for something else. I heard from Song Jinggong that the soil on the south coast of Little Wuxia is not bad. There are some rocky mountains on the north coast. There are few trees on the mountains and it's not suitable for farming. That's 1,500 taels of silver. No one would be unwilling to buy a mountain like that. It's just a waste to leave it there. If we buy it, won't County Magistrate Chung be able to use the money?" Zhang Xiaobao thought for a while and gave such an answer. Wang Wan stopped and looked back at Zhang Xiaobao. "Didn't you say that that place is more than 1,000 mu? You want to buy it with 1,500 taels of silver? 1,800 mu is only 1 square kilometer. That place is made of rocky mountains. 1 tael of silver per mu is not a small amount. If you add a little more, you can buy a mu of land." He should be secretly happy. This is also because that place has no production and doesn't need to pay taxes. Otherwise, who would buy it? Zhang Xiaobao said it with confidence. If Wang Wan didn't know what kind of person he was, she would definitely be moved by his righteousness. In reality, the more Wang Wan listened to Zhang Xiaobao, the more she felt that there was a problem. But she didn't directly expose him. "Oh, so that's how it is. You lost money, right? You must not pay taxes. Last year, 5 families in Zhuangzi didn't produce silk, but they paid an extra 70 taels of silver. It was my family that paid for it. What is this? This year I think they should pay it too. Why don't we change it? If you can pay from your family to my family, you can directly waive the tax. Those 7 families don't have good lives. If you can help them, help them. Do you know how to calculate? If you change my family's people, then won't my family have to pay too? It's just a transfer of losses. You are harming others to benefit yourself. The fundamental problem is not solved at all. Fine, leave this matter to me. This year let them raise more chickens. When the time comes, use eggs and chicken to pay. Why are they so stubbornly guarding the land that they can't grow?" Zhang Xiaobao knew that those 7 families all had patients in their families. Last year there was no welfare for them. They spent a lot of money on medicine. At the end of the year, when they paid the rent, they didn't hand in any silk, so they paid an extra 14 taels of silver. This year there was welfare and they could find some easy work for them to do. They could use this money to pay the rent. "Alright, then tell me, did you really buy that place with the intention of losing money?" Wang Wan was relieved. Those 7 families had better lives in the future. Otherwise, 14 taels of silver could drag them down. Although it was paid, it still needed to be paid. No matter how good the master family was, it was impossible for them to pay for the village. The rent had to be paid by the person who should pay. She and Zhang Xiaobao could find ways to make money, but they couldn't directly contribute money. Extra money was special. At the end of the year, all the families had to pay more money, including various kinds of insurance and funds. This money or other things were collected and let Zhang Xiaobao operate it. When they earned more money, Other than the funds for medical care and various kinds of houses, the extra money would be used to pay welfare, improve the road conditions in Zhuangzi, and so on. She didn't have to worry about this, so she asked about the place where they bought the land. It's better than taking the money out for nothing. If we can exchange it for something, we should. When the time comes to build houses in Zhuangzi, there are stones there. No matter what, we have to support County Magistrate Cheng. Zhang Xiaobao looked helpless. Wang Wan suddenly laughed. Are you fooling a fool? Forget it, I won't ask you anymore. I don't believe that you won't do anything after buying the land. Let's go and see our little seedlings. I've decided to set up a team to protect all kinds of seedlings. I've even thought of a name. It'll be called Vigorous Seedling Protection Team. The two of them were riding forward when Steward Wang hurried over from the other side. Young lady, young master, the Gu family has lost a lot of Zhuangzi. I've told Guangxi that we can help them replenish some seedlings. He wants to provide 3 times the amount of seeds. What do you think? If it's not enough, we can raise the price. Steward Wang asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. This was what they had agreed before. If the Gu family was in trouble in Zhuangzi, they could help according to the situation. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to act on his own accord. Sure, why not? It's 3 times the amount. It won't take much effort. Ask him how many seedlings he wants. Tell him that the grain must be able to be used as seeds. Otherwise, the price will be doubled. If he takes 3 times the amount of ordinary grain, we'll suffer a loss. Xiaobao, I've decided. From next year onwards, we'll start selling rice seedlings. We can use this year's harvest to advertise. We'll also find a few smart people and let them study the hybrid rice. You know how to do this, right? Wang Wan settled the matter. No, I don't know. I don't want to learn that kind of small knowledge that can only feed a few 100 million more people. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head disdainfully. I finally realized that you're too thick-skinned. Then let's study the big knowledge. Physics. Now you can ride on your own. I'll show you the direction. Let's see how much effort you need to get us to the nearest paddy field in 10 minutes. In Sanshui County, County Magistrate Cheng accompanied the various people who came down from the top. The first thing he had to do was to treat them well. There were dozens of people in the party. Only a few of them were here to do the work. The rest were here to take advantage of the situation. Logically speaking, County Magistrate Cheng not only had to treat these people well, but he also had to give them some money to pay for the journey. However, he wasn't greedy and didn't collect much money. He had to pay more than 100 taels for each trip. With so many people, where could he get tens of thousands of taels of silver? Therefore, he didn't pay for the journey. These people originally wanted to play for a while and get some benefits. However, seeing that the county magistrate didn't know how to appreciate their kindness, they didn't treat him well. From time to time, some people would find fault with him. For example, the streets were too messy. Of course, if they paid, they would say that it was bustling. County Magistrate Cheng was well aware of this. He didn't make any excuses and let them say whatever they wanted. It was cloudy this year, so County Magistrate Cheng was happy. He hoped that there would be rain to alleviate the disaster. However, some people said that it was cold. County Magistrate Cheng was angry and found the Deputy County Magistrate. After a few words, the Deputy County Magistrate glanced at those people and left. After waiting for them to leave, County Magistrate Cheng started to work on the case. In fact, there weren't many cases. Since Zhou Shihu stopped making trouble, County Magistrate Cheng dealt with those wandering gangs. The county became much more stable. It was just a case where a chicken that laid eggs suddenly went missing or a cow that got sick. For the people at the top, they didn't need to care about such small things. However, for the people it was a big loss. If the chicken went missing, there would be no eggs. Perhaps the family was counting on the eggs to survive. Even if they sold the chicken, they could get some firewood. Chundong, go to Li Lu's house and have a look. Why is his pig not eating? County Magistrate Cheng threw a stick from the case and ordered the bailiff, who often went to Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. Yes, I'll go and have a look. Chundong had long been used to these kinds of messy things. He took the stick and left in a hurry. If the pig starved to death, Li Lu's family would lose a few taels of silver. Songyang, go to Shay village and have a look. Why is one duck missing from Wang Wu's house? Find out whether it was dragged away by something in the river or stolen by someone. County Magistrate Chung dealt with the cases one by one. The people who came to look for him were all waiting, hoping that the county magistrate could help them solve these important problems. The whole morning passed under such circumstances. The deputy county magistrate also rushed back and told County Magistrate Chung that everything was arranged properly. County Magistrate Chung then left the interrogation hall and turned around to invite those people to eat. Chapter 97. Seeing that County Magistrate Chung had come to invite them to eat, these impatient people followed him without saying anything. They were quite satisfied with the food prepared by County Magistrate Chung these 2 days. As long as County Magistrate Chung led them to the same place, the taste of the same dish was better than what they had eaten before. Zhou Shihu's uncle Zhou Qiong was also among them. He was not like those who came to enjoy. When everyone else was arranged to get on the carriage, he found County Magistrate Chung. "And Ran, you must have spent a lot of money these 2 days, right? I can see that you are different from other county magistrates. Why don't you find more ways to make money?" There was an obvious hint in his words. You are a county magistrate who has not been promoted or demoted in the past few years. Your position is stable. Why don't you make more money? It is not like there are no rich families in the county. County Magistrate Chung smiled helplessly. You are right. But as an official, it is enough to eat, drink, and live. How can I trouble the people? Sir, please get on the carriage. After sending Zhou Qiong to the carriage, County Magistrate Chung sighed. He did not know who to tell. There are still a few people in Sanshui County who cannot be touched. They have retired. Why don't you try to touch them? Some transactions are controlled by these people. Besides this, there is also Zhou Qiong's nephew Zhou Shihu. Look at him now. He was not like this in the past. He caused trouble all day long. County Magistrate Chung was too busy to take care of him. Where can he get money? Take it from the people? How much danger would that entail? During the first 2 years when the new emperor was in power, the officialdom was in chaos. County Magistrate Chung did not dare to do anything. During the first 2 years when the new emperor was in power, County Magistrate Chung did not dare to do anything. It was not worth it if he was treated like a chicken and killed to show the monkeys. Last year he finally relaxed a little, but before he could do anything, an auspicious sign appeared. So many pairs of eyes were staring at it. This year, another auspicious sign appeared. This was good. He could make decisions for the people with peace of mind. Giving gifts during the new year would spread his reputation as a good official. No matter how stupid he was, he would not do something that would destroy his own reputation. What's more, Zhangzhe Zhuangzi was being watched by a master. Who knew what those 2 people were thinking? If he really did something that would infuriate the heavens, what would he do if the expert got angry? He walked to his own carriage. Before he got on, he glanced at the other people's carriages who were in a hurry to leave. He sneered and entered the carriage. This time, only the 2 bailiffs and the deputy district magistrate followed them. The rest of the yamen did not follow them. They knew that this time they would suffer and would not be able to eat anything delicious. If he wanted to eat, he might as well go home. He still had some salted vegetables sent by Zhangzhe Zhuangzi at home. He didn't know what they put in them, but the taste was different from other places. It wasn't particularly salty, but it was refreshing with a hint of freshness. When he drank it with the porridge, the taste was indescribable. Once County Magistrate Cheng's carriages started to move, they could not stop. They actually walked for more than an hour. The people in the carriages were puzzled. They had already passed through the prosperous areas of the county. Could it be that there was a good hotel hidden in a remote place? Thinking of this, those who had such thoughts became excited. They wanted to go to a place with mountains and rivers. It would be best if there were a few small bridges and some pavilions. They could eat delicious food that they had never eaten in other places, talk about the scenery, and recite a few lines of poetry. This trip was not in vain. Thinking of this, their mood became better. They did not feel annoyed sitting in the carriage. Uncle, something seems wrong. There is no restaurant here. Even the roadside tea stalls are a pile of rubbish. Where does County Magistrate Chung want to take me? Others did not know the situation here, but Zhou Shihu knew. He followed a group of bad friends. Back then, he rode a horse and went around the entire county. He already knew where there was anything. Xiaohu, are you sure? I don't know where we will go if we continue on this road. Could it be that we are going out of Sanshui County? When Zhou Shihu heard this, he could not help but be surprised. He asked his nephew softly. Zhou Shihu waved his hand. If we want to go out of the county, we will have to walk until midnight. There is a village in front of us. Although it is called a village, in fact there are only a dozen families. There is not even a river around it. They can't dig a well for drinking water. They all drink water from a water bottle in the mountains. They are farming inferior fields. Not to mention that the harvest is not guaranteed. I think County Magistrate Chung is crazy and wants to take him there. Forget it, I don't expect to eat anything. Uncle, come. Luckily, I'm used to eating the food made by the Zhang family's farmstead and brought some. Eat first, otherwise you'll be hungry later. After another quarter of an hour, the vehicles in front won't be able to pass and we'll have to get off and walk. County Magistrate Chung, you'd better take a shortcut, otherwise we'll have to climb the mountain. Zhou Shihu jumped off the car and ran to his small car. He took some things and came back. He put the things in front of his uncle and poured half a bowl of wine for his uncle. He signaled his uncle to eat. Zhou Shihu was not pretentious. He could already guess what he would eat when he entered the village. His body was his and he would feel bad if he was starving. He picked up the food that his nephew gave him and ate it. Zhou Shihu also ate. Sure enough, just as Zhou Shihu said, when the uncle and nephew finished eating, the team stopped. County Magistrate Chung jumped off the car first and said to the crowd, "Everyone, the carriages in front are no longer feasible. It is better to get off and walk. After walking for a while we will reach a good place." Really? County Magistrate Chung, is it a place with mountains and rivers? A person who was holding back his hunger fantasy asked happily. Yes. Just like the poem recited by Young Master Song, there is no road. We know about this. Song Jinggong's quote from Song Jinggong, the gifted scholar song, has already spread to the other side. The next sentence is, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Good place to go. Before County Magistrate Chung could finish his sentence, this person said and shook his head as if he was the one who wrote the poem. Then you will have to work hard. Chung Lingxiang had a smile on his face. He raised his hand and led the way with the deputy district magistrate and 2 bailiffs. It's okay. It's okay. I didn't expect there to be such a good place in Sanshui County. Everyone, please. This person also smiled and waved his hand. He pretended not to care and followed behind. The others naturally followed. At first, the road was still easy to walk on, but after half an hour there was no road under his feet. He could only vaguely see that there was a trace of less grass in the half-withered grass. It should be that someone had walked by occasionally, which was why it was like this. Zhou Shihu stayed beside his uncle with 2 water bags on his back. Seeing that the crowd was still talking about the scenery, he whispered to his uncle, "Uncle, it's over. County Magistrate Chung really wants to torture people. If we walk to the village on this road, we may see people before dark. If we really want to go there, we will have to walk for 2 hours. Fortunately, I brought enough water. I know that County Magistrate Chung is not a good person. I will get you a stick later. You can use it as a crutch. Don't force yourself." As Zhou Shihu spoke, his eyes looked around trying to find a suitable branch. He knew that his uncle rarely walked so far and would get tired easily. Zhou Shihu did not doubt his uncle. Zhou Qiong did not doubt his nephew. When he heard these words, he took a deep breath and prepared himself for suffering. Looking at the water skin on his nephew's back, he was very satisfied. His nephew was really sensible now. He knew how to do business to earn money for his family. He knew how to care for others and even made some arrangements in advance. When he went to the Zhang family's farmstead, he had to thank them properly. Suddenly, he thought of something and asked his nephew in a low voice, "Xiaohu, I didn't eat the beef jerky in the car just now. I thought it was too dry. Did you bring it? I think you will be hungry when you see people." Pung pung pung. Zhou Shihu patted his arms and winked. "Uncle, don't worry. I've brought everything. Didn't you see me go back to my car when I got off the bus? Not only did I bring the beef jerky, but I also wrapped a large scallion pancake and 2 salted duck eggs in oil paper. These were all made by Zhangjia Zhuangzi. Unfortunately, there was no hot water. Otherwise, there would be beef marrow oil tea noodles in my car. They are all gifts for me to show filial piety to my elders. I eat now and usually go to their shop. The price is cheap and the taste is not bad. These pancakes were bought this morning. Zhou Qiong looked over and found that his nephew's body was indeed bulging. He couldn't help but sigh. His nephew had gotten lucky this time because of the trouble he caused. Someone who could help a business partner to be filial to their elders couldn't be a bad person. At this time he could not wait to get rid of these people and go to Zhuangzi to thank them. He also wanted to see what he could do to help. He could not just wait to take advantage of them. Zhou Shihu and his nephew Zhou Shihu were ready. County Magistrate Chang had also eaten and drank to his heart's content. The two fourth-rank officials from the imperial court had also been given tea and snacks by the yamen runners. They must have eaten some, so they did not have to worry about being hungry. As for the rest of the people, they were suppressing the nausea in their stomachs and talking about the flowers and trees. When the drought came, the flowers were about to wither and the grass was wilting. The scenery was not so charming. County Magistrate Chung still had the same smile on his face. As he walked, he sped up slightly. Everyone followed him and the group of people walked towards the legendary another village. Chapter 98. As the night approached, the stars in the distance were slightly visible and the moon was new. The sky was clear and cloudless. Who played the flute again? The sound of the flute was like the sound of the mountains. At this moment, it really looks like the residence of the immortals. Uncle, what do you think? Zhou Shihu and his uncle walked to a place about 10 steps away from the others. They found a large rock and sat down. They faced the other mountain and spoke loudly. Those who came to take advantage of them were no longer as spirited as before. They lay there like dead dogs. They did not care if the half-withered grass pricked their bodies and did not care if the dew in the night would catch a cold. They did not have any strength in their bodies and their stomachs did not stop growling. Originally, they thought that County Magistrate Chang had already arranged for them to eat when they were tired. In the beginning they could still hold on for a while. After walking for 4 hours, people began to ask County Magistrate Chung. Every time, County Magistrate Chung would reply, "Soon, we'll be there soon." They had walked for a long time. It was already 1/4 midnight. After a while it would be midnight. They could see that there were a few faint lights flashing in front of them. They also heard the sound of the flute. At first they felt that it was melodious, but now it was ear-piercing. "County Magistrate Chung, are you planning to kill us? Why are you not getting us some food at this point?" A person lay there and looked sideways at County Magistrate Chung, who also did not have much energy. County Magistrate Chung was also tired. Other than the two yamen runners who often worked, everyone else was tired. The only difference was that the two rank 4 officials, the yamen runners, the deputy county magistrate, Zhou Shihu's uncle and nephew, and the county magistrate himself had eaten before. The others did not have anything to eat. They only had some porridge in the morning. Until now they had to walk on the mountain road. They were able to persevere because it would be further to go back. County Magistrate Chung took a sip of water and said, "I heard that this place is better, but I didn't expect it to be so fast. I thought I would arrive at dusk, but I miscalculated. I'm sorry, my lords. Please drink some water first and save it. When we came here, we prepared half a bag of water, so there's not much left." As they were talking, County Magistrate Chung ordered the bailiffs to bring water to everyone. Those who came to take advantage of the situation were given large water bags. Everyone drank a few mouthfuls of water. When it came to the two officials in charge, they were given small water bags. The two officials took the water bags and drank as usual. Suddenly they were stunned. Under the moonlight they glanced at everyone else. Wei Wei leaned over and started to drink slowly. The two of them drank and chewed at the same time. They tried their best to prevent the sound of their chewing from being heard. The bowl was filled with thick lotus seed porridge. It was a little cold, but it was better than being hungry. The bailiffs brought it to Zhou Shihu. Zhou Shihu opened it and smelled it. He passed it over and indicated that there was no need. He took out a salted duck egg and gave it to the bailiffs. The bailiffs were stunned and nodded gratefully. They took the salted duck egg and turned to leave. "Uncle, eat something. Looking at the situation, we have to leave soon." We still have 4 hours to go. Try this scallion pancake. Zhou Shihu looked back at the people who only had water to drink. He chuckled and took out the pancake. He tore off a piece and gave it to his uncle. It's delicious. When your father and I were young, our family was poor and we couldn't eat anything. One day we picked up a piece of pancake that someone accidentally dropped on the ground. Your father and I ate it for 3 days. Tasted similar to this. Why is the duck egg so salty? Zhou Qiong took a bite of the pancake and ate a little of the duck egg white. He whispered to his nephew. Zhou Shihu ate as well. He took out the beef jerky and put it into his mouth. It's not salty, so not many people buy it. The small shops here at the Zhang family's farmstead are only for people who don't have a lot of money to eat. Usually a few people go there and order 2 dishes and a few salted duck eggs. They eat almost all of the dishes with wine and then eat some staple food. 1 duck egg is enough. There are also some who go inside and ask for a bowl of wine and a salted egg. Eggs are cheap. After sipping a bit of salted egg and drinking a mouthful of wine, they can put away the remaining half of the salted egg and still have enough for 2 meals. If it's too light, they won't be able to eat anymore. That's why many people go to his store to eat. I see. This is the first time I've heard of such a thing. But since they have a recipe to make the dishes taste better, why don't they buy a place in the county and open a restaurant? Zhou Qiong sighed and felt a little puzzled. Zhou Shihu shook his head. I don't know. That Zhuangzi is always bold and imaginative. Uncle, eat some more pancake and drink some water. He passed the water bag to his uncle and waited for him to finish the pancake. Otherwise, the salted duck egg taste would still be in his mouth. Some people were hungry while others were eating stealthily. After a quarter of an hour, County Magistrate Cheng, who finished the porridge, said, My lords, we've rested enough. Shall we continue? I can't walk anymore. County Magistrate Cheng, ask someone to get some food and 2 blankets from the house over there. We can't walk anymore. The person who spoke first was now acting like a rascal. He lay there and sighed. With him taking the lead, the others didn't move. They just waited there. They didn't believe that County Magistrate Cheng would let them starve to death here. County Magistrate Cheng thought for a while and nodded. All right. Since you're willing to wait here, I'll go ahead with the 3 lords. When we get there, I'll ask someone to send the food. Take care, my lords. County Magistrate Cheng was about to leave. The 3 lords he was talking about were the 2 from the Imperial Court and Zhou Qiong. The Yamen runner, Deputy County Magistrate, and Zhou Shihu all got up. Zhou Qiong and the other 2 had eaten, so of course they had to follow. After they left and walked dozens of steps, one of the people who were still lying on the ground screamed. Oh no, once they leave, County Magistrate Cheng will prepare food and drinks for the 3 lords first and then think of us. Won't the food be sent tomorrow morning? The Yamen runner can rest on the way. We'll either starve to death or freeze to death. I have to follow. As soon as he finished speaking, he got up and ran. He didn't look hungry or tired at all. He was forced to do so. The others were stunned for a while and then followed him. They didn't think that they would die from the cold or starvation. It would be fine for them to survive for a few days, but they would suffer a lot. Hearing the footsteps behind him, County Magistrate Cheng raised the corner of his mouth but didn't say anything. The 2 Yamen runners led the way in front. Fortunately, there was still some light from the stars and the moon. Otherwise, they would have to walk until the next morning. Along the way, no one spoke. There was nothing to say. They were so tired that even breathing was strenuous. Only when it was evening did they arrive at their destination. There were more than 30 houses and more than a dozen families. There was a torch lit, and there were more than 20 people standing there waiting. My lord, why are you so late? I didn't do a good job. As soon as County Magistrate Cheng and the others appeared, Song Jinggong came up and said apologetically. He was arranged by Zhang Xiaobao to come. He didn't intend to torture them. He just asked County Magistrate Cheng to lead them to a place and let Zhou Shihu's uncle secretly go to Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. In the end, County Magistrate Cheng was angry and changed the plan slightly. That was why it turned out like this. You can't even do such a small thing? Is it so difficult to prepare some food? County Magistrate Cheng's face darkened and he shouted. When the people who came to take advantage of the situation heard this, They understood that County Magistrate Chang had already arranged for people to come here and prepare. It seemed that the people who came didn't succeed. The hope just now turned into disappointment. They would starve to death if they didn't have food. Song Jinggong lowered his head even more and explained, "My lord, it's not that we didn't prepare food. The people here did prepare food, but they asked for money. I didn't bring any money." "My lord, did you bring any?" County Magistrate Chang shook his head and turned around to ask, "I didn't bring any. I'll ask the other lords." "My lords, the food over there is already prepared. May I know which lord has money?" Everyone shook their heads. Who would bring money when they went down? They were all waiting to take the money back. Zhou Shihu did bring some, but he wouldn't take it out stupidly. He imitated others and shook his head like a rattled drum. "Ah, they didn't bring any money. What should we do? Why don't we put them on credit first? I'll send them the money later. Zijin, you go and discuss with them." County Magistrate Chang said awkwardly. Song Jinggong followed the order and left. After a while, he turned around and smiled helplessly. "My lord, it won't work. They don't believe me. I'll send them the money later. Don't put them on credit. I have a jade pendant. I'll leave it with them first. County Magistrate Chang can help me get it back." An official was so hungry that he couldn't bear it anymore. He took out a jade pendant that was supposed to be hanging on his waist and handed it over. He was a little distressed. He was afraid that it would be scratched when he went up the mountain, so he put it in his pocket. Song Jinggong took the jade pendant and went to discuss with them. After a while, two people came back. In addition to Song Jinggong, there was an old man with wrinkles on his face. His hair and beard were all white. He carried a piggyback. He walked over and said, "My lords, it's not that the villagers are stingy. It's just that life is hard. The weather is dry and we don't know how the harvest will be in autumn. The villagers are all afraid. Oh, I'm the chief of the village. My surname is Qin. My lords, you can call me Old Tool." After saying this, he didn't wait for others to speak and continued, "I don't know which lord this pendant belongs to. Forgive me for my poor eyesight. I can't tell whether this is jade or stone. It may be worth a lot of money to a knowledgeable person, but in the village, it's not as good as half a bowl of coarse chaff. My lord, please take this stone, oh no, jade pendant back." "How can this be a stone? You?" The official who took out the jade pendant carefully took it in his hand and stared at the old man. "It's not a stone. I was wrong. Jade, it's jade. It's good jade, but no one in the village knows." This Qin village chief was obviously scared. He explained incoherently while trembling. He meant that the jade was not good, but there was food. "Let's see what you can exchange for it." County Magistrate Chang held back his laughter. He felt that this Qin village chief was so nice, so he came out to smooth things over. "My lord, don't be angry. It's not worth arguing with them. Qin village chief, tell me, how can you give us food?" Chapter 99. The moon was like a hook, the night was serene, the lonely light lit the lamp oil, the brush did not rest. The ink was gently crushed, the wrist was slowly retracted. Two figures were left on the wall, accompanying each other in their hearts. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan ate dinner and slept for 4 hours. They woke up in the middle of the night to study and practice calligraphy. Both of them knew that happiness was not given to them by others. They had to pursue it themselves. While they were young, they were more sensible than other children. They had to learn more in order to be useful in the future. This was especially so for Zhang Xiaobao. He still had to take the imperial examinations. With an official position, it would be more convenient for him to do things. Their plan was to sleep for 5.5 hours a day. After dinner, they would sleep for 4 hours. They would wake up and study for 4 hours. After dinner, they would sleep until 2 and then sleep until 6. After dinner, they would train by playing games. After taking a shower, they would sleep for an hour. After lunch, they would sleep for 2 hours if there were no important matters. That was how the day was going to be. They would make special arrangements if they encountered special situations. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had been specially trained to sleep. There were 2 types. One was to enter a deep sleep quickly, which would speed up the recovery of the body. The other was to be half asleep. If there was no movement and no threat, it meant that they were asleep. If not, they would immediately wake up and react subconsciously. The two of them were still learning the Analects of Confucius. In fact, they had already memorized it. However, when Zhang Xiaobao's father taught them, they were able to comprehend it by analogy. Any sentence he took out would contain a certain story. Even so, they were not high scholars. Other than the fact that Zhang Xiaobao did not understand the rules of the examinations, it also showed how difficult the imperial examinations were. Pomegranate slept early and lay down in the outer room. She had many things to do during the day and did not have such treatment. However, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had given it to her. There were also two people patrolling at night in the outer room, so she did not have to worry about not being able to react in time. Zhou Shihu's uncle will be here soon. County Magistrate Chang actually came up with such a despicable move. If the Yamen had not come to inform us at night, I would have thought that County Magistrate Chang would treat those people well so that they would not be able to focus on others. After writing for more than an hour, Wang Wan stopped. She rubbed her wrists and flicked the oil lamp. With two crackling sounds, the light was brighter. Yes, those people are just low-ranking officials and have no real power. You don't have to worry about County Magistrate Chung offending them. What's more, as long as County Magistrate Chung doesn't let them know who arranged it, they can only hate the villagers over there. When they go back, it's impossible for them to take revenge. The villagers' lives are worthless, but their future is more important. One lamp was too dim. If he added more and changed it to a candle, he would earn so much money but not spend it. If he burned his eyes, where would he go to treat it? Someone take 3 candles and light them all. Zhang Xiaobao analyzed the situation for a while and felt his eyes ache. He called for the night watch outside to bring in the candles. When the 2 maidservants who were chatting and eating snacks heard the commotion inside, they didn't dare to be negligent and brought in the candles. They didn't bring 3 candles but a bundle so that it would be easier to change them later. When the candles were lit, the brightness of the room immediately changed. Zhang Xiaobao was satisfied. It's okay. By the way, is my father also studying at night? Send some candles to my father too. If he doesn't want them, take my oil lamp. Even if you earn money, your family will suffer. Why should you earn more? The 2 maidservants didn't say anything. They took the oil lamp and went out. One of them continued to stand guard while the other went out. Looking at the night sky outside, she shivered. Fortunately, there was a torch in the courtyard that swayed with the wind, so it wasn't so dark. She gave herself courage and walked to another courtyard. Just as she walked to a dark corner, she noticed that there seemed to be a shadow moving there. She was so scared that she almost dropped the lamp in her hand. Seeing that the shadow moved and stopped moving, she finally let out a sigh of relief. Remembering that this was the person who had been arranged by the manor, she finally felt relieved. She had just been here for a month, and her family of 5 had fled here. During the spring plowing, not a drop of water had fallen. They had all signed death contracts. Today was her first night watch. She had only heard about it, but was not familiar with it. Naturally, she was afraid at night. Now that she felt the arrangement of Zhuangzi, a happy smile appeared on her pale face. She felt that this was the feeling of home. Helping each other and working hard. She didn't have to worry about anything else. She didn't know that Zhuangzi had put in a lot of effort when choosing people. Out of so many families, only 2 families were chosen. They even had to report to the government. It seems that this drought is inevitable. I'm relieved. It's so gloomy during the day, but there's not a single drop of rain. When will our food, chickens and ducks be sent there? It's a long journey and it will take a long time. Wang Wan dipped the brush in the ink and was ready to write. She asked Zhang Xiaobao. In 2 months, when the locusts are showing signs, we will set off. When we arrive, they will be in a hurry to destroy the locusts. Cherries can also bring the newly hatched chickens with us. We can eat the locusts, sell the eggs and exchange them for other things. Are we bringing the chickens back? Wang Wan asked again. Zhang Xiaobao nodded affirmatively and said, of course we're bringing them back. We can lay eggs and we hope to increase the income of the farmers. We don't need to feed them extra food on the way back. The locusts can fly. I think we can have some here in the name of destroying the locusts for the people. The righteous will be on our side. Wang Wan, who was about to write, put down the brush when she heard this. She stared at Zhang Xiaobao and said, are you stupid? What righteous? When there was a plague of locusts, the people were kneeling down. It was that Yao guy who took the responsibility and started to destroy the locusts. You're right. History says that he destroyed the locusts in time. In fact, it's just that he didn't let the locusts spread widely. Those two places suffered a lot. Li Longji wanted to destroy the locusts, but he didn't want to take the responsibility of offending the heavens. The officials and the people didn't want to destroy the locusts. If that's the case, we can't use the righteous name on the way back. We have to think of a way. That's right, we can eat the locusts on the way back. We can use the eggs to exchange for other things other than food. We can say that these chickens are specially used to deliver eggs to the people during the disaster. We can ask Yao Gai to send down a memorial. With so many chickens and ducks, it's a grand display of grace. Zhang Xiaobao finally found an entry point. He picked up the brush and continued writing. Wang Wan smiled and said, "You're such a liar. What grand display of grace? The locusts are even grander. Shouldn't they be destroyed? You can't control the strength of your writing. Why don't you tie a sandbag?" "No, I don't want to leave any sequelae with my small arms and legs. Tomorrow Zhou Shihu's uncle might be here. I'll learn." Zhang Xiaobao yawned and picked up the towel in the basin beside him. He wiped his face and felt more energetic. He continued writing. "Is this something for humans to eat? There's not even a bowl of soup. Bah." In the small village in the mountains, County Magistrate Chang and the group could finally eat. The villagers served rice, one rice ball after another. To be precise, it was steamed rice with coarse bran and some wild vegetables. When one took a bite, one would feel a bitter taste in the mouth. When one wanted to swallow it directly, one would find that one's throat was almost torn. As long as one bit hard, one's mouth would be full of dregs. Cold water would be poured down. Starting from the neck, the line was burning hot. In addition to this, which could be considered as a part of the meal, there was also a side dish, dandelion, and a wild vegetable called bitter butterfly seed, which was bitter and pungent when mixed with large grains of black salt. After eating a few mouthfuls, one person couldn't stand it anymore. He spat out 2 pieces of coarse bran and complained loudly. "Don't spit it out. Eat it. It's better than starving. Didn't you hear the villagers say that this is the best thing they usually eat? If you spit it out, you'll starve yourself. Don't expect to eat our food. Tomorrow morning, you'll have to wake up and work for the village. When that time comes, you'll be hungry and weak. Let's see if they'll give you anything to eat at noon." When the other official heard this person complaining, he felt that the food in front of him was even more disgusting. He had no choice but to interrupt that person. He picked up a piece of side dish and stuffed it into his mouth. He chewed twice and then took a bite of the rice ball. He used all his strength to mix the two things together. He drank a mouthful of water and let out a long sigh. "Everyone eat. It's okay. My stomach feels much better. I'll work for 2 days and wait for County Magistrate Chang to send someone to bring the money and other food. Then I'll be able to get through it." The 2 assistant ministers are eating happily. Do we not know the hardships of the people? When everyone heard this, they turned their heads to look. Indeed, the assistant minister of the Ministry of Works and the Ministry of Rights were eating the same thing. Even the Minister of War was eating. It was said that his nephew wasn't an ordinary playboy. Since he wasn't picky, then he should eat too. Everyone gritted their teeth and started eating. The 2 assistant ministers were eating happily. The rice balls were also filled with fermented rice, chaff, and wild vegetables. The side dish in front of them was also the same. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to tell the difference. However, if they opened it up and looked carefully, they would know what was different. The rice balls they were eating had shredded meat in the middle. The wild vegetables were soaked in oil and finely ground. The fermented rice was steamed before it was kneaded in. The side dish was salted differently. It looked black. It was fried meat sauce. Yes, it's not easy for the people to eat this kind of thing normally. We have to be diligent and thrifty. It's good to eat coarse grains occasionally. What do the 2 ministers think? Zhou Qiong used his tongue to pull out 2 pieces of meat and chewed them in his mouth. That's right. The assistant minister of the Ministry of Works and the Ministry of Rights spoke at the same time. They now knew that it wasn't easy for the people. They forced themselves to eat the food with added ingredients. As for the food without added ingredients, it was clear just by looking at the others. How could the people afford to eat meat and use oil? The other officials couldn't even speak. They could only nod and agree. After eating, they would go to bed early. They would start working tomorrow. They would help the villagers carry water and water the fields. The reward would be the food for these 2 days. My lords, perhaps you feel that the food is bad. It'll be better tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll ask them to prepare some soup and 2 more dishes. Qin village had been standing at the side waiting on them. At this time, he opened his mouth and said with an apologetic expression, Chapter 100. The next morning, when the sun had just risen, these officials were all woken up. Each of them had a bowl of rice porridge and the side dishes they had eaten yesterday. They had no choice but to help out. They couldn't do the slightly more technical work. And the villagers didn't expect them to do it either. They just let them carry water. There was a water bubble in the mountains about a li away from the village. There was water flowing down from the top, rainwater, and a small spring over there so that the villagers would not run out of water. There was no one in the village to plant rice, wheat, millet, or sorghum. There were also many vegetable fields. The price of vegetables was cheap, but they could be exchanged for money quickly. Once they were harvested, the strong laborers in the village would carry them out to sell. They took another route. Except for these officials who didn't know, no one would be stupid enough to go through so many mountains to exchange for money to buy salt, oil and other things. Life was a bit difficult, but it wasn't to the point where they had to eat chaff all day. There was also a small mill in the village. They cultivated some land in the mountains and planted soybeans. Occasionally they could eat soybeans. Most of the soybeans were taxed. The wasteland that was cultivated was known to County Magistrate Tang, but he didn't record it. This was to give the villagers some spare money. During the new year, County Magistrate Tang even brought Zhang Zhuangzi's things here. Therefore, the villagers followed his arrangements. The villagers didn't care how high the official was or what rank he was. Whoever was good to him, he would listen to that person. When other people weren't looking, he was very respectful to County Magistrate Tang. Last night, he even boiled water for him to take a bath. In the morning before everyone ate, he first fried 2 brown eggs for County Magistrate Tang and sprinkled some sugar on top. County Magistrate Cheng Lingxiang ate the 2 fried eggs in small bites for a full quarter of an hour. He felt that the taste was better than the signature dishes of the 3 restaurants in the county. When he finished eating, he called the others to wake up. It was time to work and they still wanted him to bribe them? Dream on. There was no more food to be served. Whoever worked would eat. The work of the officials was arranged by the villagers. Some were far, some were near, some were light, some were heavy. When noon came, they would eat at the place where they were working. Someone would bring them food. The group of officials changed their clothes and began to grit their teeth and work. After walking for so long yesterday, their backs were sore and their legs were weak. However, they had no choice but to persevere. The 2 assistant ministers did not say anything, so how could it be their turn? The 2 bailiffs did not do this. They said that they were going back to get money and things, so they quietly left with Zhou Qiao and Zhou Shihu. Zhou Qiao had to go to Zhang Zhuangzi to discuss some things and express his gratitude. He would be back in 2 days. At that time, the yamen would come back with them and bring some food. As for the money, the county government had already paid for the food the officials ate. No matter how bad it was still money. The people in the village did not lack this little bit of labor. If they could do it themselves, why would they need to find someone to do it for them? We're out. We're finally out. Zhou Qiao looked at the scenery outside the mountain and said comfortably, "Sir, your carriage will be here soon. The people who followed you have been persuaded to go back. They said that you need to rest here for 2 days. Someone will take care of you, so you don't have to worry that they will come to find you themselves." A bailiff from the county reported to Zhou Qiao, "Oh, that's good. And Ran is also there." Who's in charge in the county? Zhou Chong finally understood. It was no wonder that when they came here, the county had specially found some drivers to persuade the people from the prefecture to go back. They were also worried that if the yamen lacked a person in charge, there would be trouble. The bailiff replied respectfully, "Sir, don't worry. There are still the registrar and the county lieutenant in charge of the county. These are all trivial matters. Sanshui County has young Master Zhou to take care of it, so there won't be any big problems. Other than the registrar Sir Zhao, who is unwilling to talk too much, the others are all very harmonious. No one will be a hindrance. Zhou Qiao was on the same side, so the bailiff said more. Zhou Qiao did not say anything this time. He was relieved. At this time his carriage arrived. The bailiff rode the horse and led the way. The few people disappeared at the foot of the mountain. After the wind passed, the people in Zhuangzi were still planting the seedlings. Some of the seedlings that could not be used were simply thrown away. The main family finally did something to protect the farmers. The seedlings that were to be planted in 2 days would all be planted by the main family. When they heard that the seedlings that were planted 3 times in exchange for the seedlings that did not fall, the farmers were all very happy. The people in Zhuangzi were also checking the fields. They picked out the few seedlings that could not withstand the wind and moved a few seedlings from other densely populated areas. Then, they looked for the seedlings that were stronger and noted them down. When they were harvested in autumn, they would pick more seedlings. If the seedlings were still big, they would be kept as seeds. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan rode out on their carriages. When they saw the farmers' happy expressions because of the rice seedlings, they were also happy. From time to time, they would respond to the people who greeted them with the expressions and tone of a child. Father, why do I feel that the young master and young lady are the same as the rice seedlings when I look at them? They are older than other children of the same age. Their arms and legs are chubby and white. It is obvious that they can withstand the wind. After Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan left, a 10-year-old child next to the adults looked at the young master and young lady and said to his father, "Don't talk nonsense. How can the young master and young lady be compared to the rice seedlings? If I hear you say that again, I will give you a big slap on the face." The father scolded the child. He squatted down and looked at the small seedling that had blocked the wind for other seedlings. His eyes narrowed. "Oh, I won't say it again. But I still feel that way." The child agreed, but he did not change his mind. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan arrived at the small bridge, they stopped and looked at the site that was still under construction. They hoped that it would be finished soon. "Xiaobao, when Zhou Shihu's uncle comes, how many things do you want to discuss? We can't talk to him in person. Let's think about it first. We don't want to make any mistakes." Wang Wan got off the car and looked at the river that had completely stopped flowing. There should be 3 things. First, we need to discuss the long-term plans for some business with Zhou Shihu. Second, we need to ask him to help bring some fame to the restaurant here. Third, we need to ask him about the rewards from the province when someone helped when the country was in a disaster. As for what he wants to talk about, I don't know. I think he wants to meet the 2 experts from Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. Song Jinggong has mentioned more than once that County Magistrate Chang wants to be apprenticed. I think some people are curious about this. Should we meet or not? If we meet, someone will pass the message back and forth. This is also a kind of meeting. I am afraid that he will ask the experts for their opinions and ask some sensitive questions. Zhang Xiaobao sat in the car and put his elbow on the handlebar in front of him. He pondered for a while and replied, "I think we should meet him and listen to his opinion. That way we can understand him better." Wang Wan suggested, "Okay, we will ask someone to pass the message back and forth." Zhang Xiaobao agreed. At around 4 in the afternoon, a carriage pulled by 3 horses sped over from Tuqiao village. The carriage stirred up a cloud of dust along the way. The horses looked exhausted. When they entered the Gu family's Zhuangzi, the road became difficult to travel on. Only then did the carriage slow down. Zhou Shihu and his uncle were also very bumpy in the carriage. As soon as the carriage slowed down, they stopped. He and his uncle got off the carriage and walked over. When they first got on the carriage, he wanted to eat something. However, his uncle told him that it would take some time to get to the yamen from here and some time to get to the other side. The 2 of them left the village in the morning and were delayed for some time. If they continued to walk slowly, they would only arrive at their destination at night. When they arrived at their destination at night, they naturally couldn't talk about it. They could only wait until the next day. They also had to see what time the 2 experts would wake up. If the 2 experts had the habit of sleeping in, they still had to wait. This would take an extra day. Therefore, the carriage was in a hurry all the way. Fortunately, there were many horses pulling the carriage. If it were ordinary horses, they would have died of exhaustion. After getting off the carriage, the two of them drank some water and let the carriage handle the horses. There was only one yamen runner to accompany them. The yamen runner also jumped off the horse and handed the horses to the carriage handle. The three of them slowly eased the uncomfortable feeling of the bumpy road, while walking towards the Zhuangzi area of Zhongshaobao and Wang Zhuangzi. At present, they were still in the Gu family's Zhuangzi area. As the Minister of Granary and Army, Zhou Xiu was in charge of the province's taxation and storage. Whether or not the local disaster would be reduced or exempted depended on the local disaster situation. Since they were here, they naturally had to take a good look. He let the yamen runner lead them to a road in the fields. After the three of them turned around two houses that blocked their line of sight, a large paddy field appeared in front of them. There were people busily working in it. From afar, it looked like they were picking things out of the field. Could it be that the river here has been cut off? Zhou Xiu had not inquired about the paddy field here, so he asked this question. It has been cut off. It was cut off a few days ago. The villages upstream have all diverted the water to their own fields. There is a small river here. This place is called Gujia village. The water used is all diverted from the Zhongshaobao and Wang Zhuangzi. When there was no drought, Zhongshaobao and Wang Zhuangzi stored water from 6 large ponds and dug 7 wells. Now Zhongshaobao and Wang Zhuangzi have 2 ponds. Gujia village has 3 ponds of Zhuangzi. The yamen runner explained. When he mentioned the Zhuangzi of Zhongshaobao and Wang Zhuangzi, his tone was full of respect. It was not only because the Zhongshaobao and Wang Zhuangzi were powerful, but also because they took care of them. Usually, when they had something to eat, they would send it to the yamen and distribute it to everyone. Even now, they still had some wood ears that they could not bear to eat. His wife was pregnant, so every time she wanted to eat, she would fry some. Every time they ate, his wife would softly say that she had found a capable husband, that their child had a powerful father, that they could eat fresh cucumbers in the winter, and that they could eat wood ears from big families at home. For a man, what could be more glorious than this? A few days ago, Zhangzhe Zhuangzi did not know who told him that his wife was pregnant, but young Master Song actually sent some tofu skins and chili sauce, as well as a small jar of aged vinegar and a packet of white sugar. He said that the tofu skins were soaked in water, cut into pieces and mixed with white sugar and aged vinegar. It was sweet and sour. If she wanted to eat spicy food, she could add the chili sauce. When the other yamen runners looked at him enviously and saw his wife's smiling face when he returned home, which one of them did not feel proud? Not to mention saying good words or flattering him, even if he saw someone kill someone, he would turn his head and pretend that he did not see it. Chapter 101. While the yamen runner was deep in thought, Zhou Qiong was also sighing at the power of Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. This was great. Sanshui County would definitely be classified as a disaster area. If the average output of Sanshui County was reduced by 40%, all taxes would be exempted. If the average output of Sanshui County was reduced by 60%, the tax would also be exempted. If the average output of Sanshui County was reduced by 70%, they would not even have to serve as laborers. Looking at the situation, Sanshui County's output would be reduced by at least 50% this year. If County Magistrate Chang and Zhou Qiong did something, they would not be able to collect taxes this year. However, they still had to serve as laborers. It was impossible for them to reduce the output by 70%. In that case, they would help to fix the river in front of them. After all, it was their own river. If others did not let them, they would fix it themselves. Now that they were free, they were free. Other places were really affected by disasters, but here nothing happened. Gu family's paddy field in Zhuangzi was already like this. Zhang family and Wang family's paddy field should be better than this. Zhou Qiong admired them from the bottom of his heart. At this time, when he saw the things in the hands of the person who was picking things out of the paddy field, he was stunned. What's going on? Why did you pull out the seedlings in the paddy field? Zhou Qiong pointed at the seedlings in the hands of the farmer and asked. The yamen runner did not know, so he called someone to ask. The farmer recognized the uniform of the yamen runner, but did not know that Zhou Qiong was wearing civilian clothes. Seeing that Zhou Qiong was asking about this, he smiled and spread out his hands to show the three of them the seedlings in his hands. He said, "It's nothing. There was a strong wind yesterday and many seedlings were blown away. Some were broken, some were picked out and thrown away. It's useless." Zhou Qiong looked at the farmer and frowned. He asked, "Then why are you not worried? Are you hoping to reduce the output and wait for the imperial court to exempt you from taxes? You are really too much. Why are you worrying about nothing? What does reducing the output have to do with you? The imperial court is your family." When the farmer heard this, he was unwilling to accept it. The yamen runner coughed and gave the farmer a look. When the farmer saw the expression in the yamen runner's eyes, he suddenly understood that this was an official who had come to visit in disguise. His previous arrogant appearance disappeared and he cautiously replied, "Yes, I don't know. Everyone is actually not in a hurry. The main family has already gotten new rice seedlings from the Zhang family and Wang family in Zhuangzi. In another 2 days we can replant without any delay. Even though it's a few days late, when the autumn harvest comes, there will be more grain than before. If it weren't for the main family not being able to afford so many seeds, I really want to uproot all the rice seedlings and wait for the new seedlings." "Oh, so the Miao family of the Zhang family and the Wang family are very good?" Zhou Qiong was even more puzzled. Usually replanting was a last resort. He did not expect that the Gu family's Zhuangzi farmers were actually looking forward to it. The farmer threw away the rice seedlings in his hand and pointed in the direction of the Zhang family and the Wang family. He stared and said, "It's not good, it's godly. Yesterday the wind was so strong, but they all came over to help us plant the seedlings. Guess what happened? Those 2 families' seedlings were like little calves. When the wind came, our seedlings fell one by one. They just shook their heads and passed by." "Really? Okay, you go do your work. I'll go take a look over there later." Zhou Qiong thought that the farmer was talking nonsense and did not continue to ask. He first went to take a look at the fields and found that there were indeed many fallen seedlings. The wind yesterday had made the disaster worse. After taking a look, he continued to walk forward with his nephew and the yamen runner. After a while, they reached the small bridge and saw the people building the houses below. He turned around and glanced at the yamen runner. The yamen runner quickly said, "They are going to build a restaurant here. The 3 families of Zhuangzi will pay together. When the construction is finished, they can drink and eat on the water." Good plan. We can take advantage of the fact that there is no water now." Zhou Qiong responded and continued to walk forward. After crossing the small bridge and seeing the Wang family's seedlings in the Zhuangzi fields, Zhou Qiong stopped again and pointed at the seedlings. "How is this possible? Why are the seedlings here so much thicker and taller than the ones over there? Could it be that they were planted in advance?" "Sir, it's impossible that they were planted in advance. Otherwise they would have frozen to death. These seedlings can only be said to be planted well or chosen well. Sir, look, there aren't many footprints in the fields. This means that the seedlings were not blown over by yesterday's wind." The yamen runner was not very clear about farming, but he knew that it was necessary to judge from certain aspects when handling cases. Zhou Qiong looked at the fields and frowned again. Why were they planted so casually? The Gu family's Zhuangzi fields were lined up neatly. Could it be that the Zhang family and Wang family's Zhuangzi farmers were trying to fool the main family? He did not believe that the main family of the Zhang family and Wang family in Zhuangzi would be so clumsy as to let people throw the seedlings into the fields, so that they could catch someone who was deliberately causing trouble for the 2 families. "Hey, you over there, what are you shouting for? Say it clearly, who is fooling the main family? You don't know anything and you're just spouting nonsense." Zhou Qiong's voice was a little louder, so a few people over there heard him. They immediately walked over and criticized Zhou Qiong. "You are?" Zhou Qiong looked at them and asked. "We are the farmers of the Zhang family and Wang family in Zhuangzi. We were just established to guard the fields. We are called the Vigorous Seedling Protection Team. I am the team leader, and these are the team members. You are slandering the farmers of the Zhang family and Wang family." This person walked in front of Zhou Qiong, puffed out his chest, pointed at himself, and pointed at the people beside him and said proudly, The yamen runner coughed again and said at the same time, "This is an official from above." "Oh, so that's how it is. An official can slander others as he pleases?" The main family said that the vigorous seedling protection team is only responsible for the main family and does not care about the others. This is called military orders are like mountains. If you are an official, you can talk to the official. We will listen to the orders of the main family. This person did not care at all. Wang Wan had chosen him because of his character. She treated the seedling protection team as a military unit. No matter what happened, they could not show weakness. Even if they caused trouble, the main family would take responsibility. If they took a step forward, even if it was a mountain of knives and a sea of fire, if they took a step back, how could they care about gold, silver, and treasures? This person understood Wang Wan's spirit and did not give in at all, even if he knew that the Yamen runner was standing beside him, and that the person in front of him was not an ordinary person. Haha, so you are saying that the main family arranged for you to plant the fields like this? Zhou Qiong asked again. Of course. Do you think that we are all fools who don't know how to transplant seedlings? This is called throwing seedlings. The main family decided it. At first we didn't believe it, but since the main family said so, we followed it. Now we know. When the wind blows, the seedling transplanter falls, but the seedling thrower is still standing here. The main family is amazing. This person was still so arrogant. He looked straight into Zhou Qiong's eyes and said word by word. Good, as expected of the Zhang family's manor. It lives up to its reputation. Even a mere manor owner has such integrity, not to mention the main family. What an impressive governance method, to actually be able to make the manor owner and the main family of one heart, not fearing power. Zhou Qiong was not angry. Instead he felt excited. An army was just like that. A soldier who bowed to an outsider was not a soldier, but a coward. From the farmer, he knew the main family's way of doing things. It must be the two masters, otherwise how could it be like this? Thinking of this, Zhou Qiong continued to ask, is it because the main family is too strict and has a way of governing people? Who knew that when these people heard this, their faces immediately darkened. The captain glared at the Yamen runner and said to Zhou Qiong, you are measuring the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. Is it strict to build a house? Is it strict to make clothes? Is it strict to give lanterns? Here. This person told the benefits given by the main family from beginning to end, but he did not say how the main family grew cucumbers. Zhou Qiong was stunned. He had never seen such a farmer. It was too arrogant. He did not feel like a farmer. It was more like he was the master of some family. The Yamen runner at the side was anxious at this time. He was afraid that the captain would be unhappy, so he could only say, do you know who this is? He is older than your county magistrate. Why don't you speak honestly? So what if he is older than the county magistrate? What do you mean by speaking honestly? I don't understand. I only know that if I weaken the prestige of the seedling protection team, I will not be able to face the main family when I go back. The main family has chosen me to be the captain. I will support the main family even if I die. This person's arrogance came up. He did not care who he was facing. The other farmers who followed him did not show any signs of backing down. It's okay. Let's not talk about this. Please report that young Master Zhou and his nephew are here and want to see the main family. Zhou Qiong had nothing to say about this. The Zhang family and Wang family actually took care of the basic necessities of the farmers in Zhuangzi. It was no wonder that they worked so hard. When the captain heard this, he quickly bowed. So it is young Master Zhou and Lord Zhou. I did not know and offended you. I will report it now. When the time comes, I will personally ask for punishment. The main family has instructed that as long as young Master Zhou and Lord Zhou are here, we must not neglect them. I will go first. You all serve young Master Zhou and Lord Zhou well. After the captain finished speaking, he ran towards the main courtyard of Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. On the way he almost fell. The others stood directly in the water and held out their hands to prevent Zhou Qiong and the others from accidentally falling into the water. Zhou Qiong, Zhou Shihu, and the Yamen runner were all stunned. This contrast was too big. When they mentioned their identity, the other party did not care at all. When they mentioned young Master Zhou and his nephew, they jumped into the water. If they lost face just now, the other party had given them enough face at this moment. At this time, Zhou Shihu was arrogant. He raised his head and said to his uncle, "Uncle, how is it?" "Good. Just from hearing your name, Xiao Hu is promising." You are even better than me, a 6th-rank official. In the future, the Zhou family will rely on you. Zhou Qiong was happy, using the identity of Zhou Shihu's uncle to receive such treatment, but using the identity of an official was another matter. This meant that the other party only recognized family and did not care about anything else. It was easy to deal with such people. Zhou Shihu was naturally modest. After waiting for a while, a lot of people came over. There were 2 older people in the lead. It was obvious that they were the old ancestors of the Zhang and Wang families. This was a big show of force. Zhou Qiong suddenly remembered that he came early and did not bring any gifts. He did not know what to do. It was already 4 p.m., and Zhou Qiong's recommendation had not reached 5,000 yet. You are bullying me too much. Do you think I am afraid of you? I am not afraid. Tomorrow I will let you bully me again. Chapter 102. Seeing so many people coming out of the Tu Zhuangzi, Zhou Qiong felt troubled. If he had come down as an official, this scene would have been perfect. But this time he was using his normal identity as Zhou Shihu's uncle. Compared to the 2 old masters of the 2 villages, he should be considered a junior. Before he could figure out what to do, the crowd came forward one after another to greet him. He could only follow suit. The crowd surrounded him and pulled him into the main courtyard of Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. In the main hall, the 2 old masters of Zhuangzi sat on the same level, occasionally praising each other. Only Zhang Xiaobao's father accompanied them and chatted. This was arranged by Zhang Xiaobao. If one wanted to take the imperial examination, it was not that simple. One needed to be famous and know people above them. For this matter, Zhang Xiaobao had discussed with Wang Wan. They wanted to copy some poems for his father and make him famous. But after considering that his father would not be so thick-skinned as to copy poems, they could only give up. Only then did they painstakingly try to establish a good relationship with him. Originally, they planned to look for the prime minister surnamed Yao during the disaster relief, but after considering that person would be dismissed in a few days, they had to find a new way. The people in the hall chatted until dinner time. Naturally, they made some arrangements. The women of the family left, and the children were not allowed to sit at the table. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan took pomegranate to eat. They went out to train for a while, then went to bed. Zhou Qiong had chatted with Zhang Zhong's father for a long time. He was quite satisfied with the heads of the Zhang family, Zhang Yongcheng. They had talent, but they were a bit inflexible. Although they were the heads of the family, the real person in charge of the family was actually from the Zhangwang clan. They had the ability to take care of Zhuangzi in an orderly manner. This could be seen from the actions and words of the servants. During the meal, the servant girls who served the dishes were all so steady and did not deliberately try to please him. There was no fault to be found in their etiquette. Their eyes were clear, making people feel that they were sincere, and their responses were appropriate. They gave people the feeling that they were eating at home. Although they were servants of the manor, they would not look bad in some manners. After the meal, Zhou Qiong and the others were arranged to rest after a bumpy day. At this time the sky was not dark yet. Zhou Qiong, who was originally tired, was lying on the couch but couldn't fall asleep. He tossed and turned and had no choice but to get up and take a look outside. After putting on her clothes and pushing open the door, the maidservant who had been waiting outside respectfully greeted her. When she heard that this lady wanted to walk around, she didn't stop her. She followed beside her and found someone who passed by to report to the steward. As soon as he arrived outside the main courtyard, Zhou Qiong saw 2 children using slingshots to hit a tree on the other side of the river. Beside the 2 children stood a servant girl wearing the master's servant clothes. Xiaoju, are these 2 children the Xiaobao and Cuckoo of Zhuangzi? Zhou Qiong asked the servant girl beside her. In reply to Darren, it is the little master and the little lady. Darren, look over there. The water from the well is different from other places. It tastes sweet. The servant girl Xiaoju replied. She pointed to a place in front of them and gently introduced it. She wanted to lead Zhou Qiong there. She was afraid that Zhou Qiong would be happy and want to say a few words to the little master and the little lady. If the 2 little ancestors revealed too much at once, Zhou Qiong would be suspicious. Oh, only this one is different. I have to taste it. And take me to see your little master and little lady first. Zhou Qiong followed the servant girl's words and looked in that direction. He was about to walk over when he suddenly realized that the servant girl didn't want him to meet the two children. Strange, he was actually led to another place by the servant girl. If it wasn't for the fact that he usually talked to people like this, he really would have been led there. How impressive. If it was someone else, they might have said, "Darren, why don't you look elsewhere?" That would be too obvious. However, the servant girl acted as if she didn't care. When Xiaoju heard this, she knew that her thoughts had been seen through. She didn't show any panic on her face and gently said, "Darren, your body is precious. You don't have to see it personally. Let me invite the little master and little lady. There's no hurry. Let them play for a while. I like children the most. Xiaoju, let me ask you, what do you usually do in this courtyard? I saw 3 little stars embroidered on your clothes. Some people embroidered 1 or 2. Could it be that there's something else?" Zhou Qiong was now interested in the servant girls. Those that were sent to serve him were definitely chosen carefully. Xiaoju smiled sweetly in reply to Darren, "I usually serve the old madam." Darren, your guess is very accurate. The servants in this courtyard are divided into 3 classes. 2 stars are first class, 1 star is second class. There are no third class. Then what about these 3 stars of yours? Special class. They are all favored by the old madam and madam. Xiaoju's smile didn't change. Then Xiaoju, you are not ordinary. Tell me, how do you become a special class? What is the class of the servant girl that serves your little master and little lady? Zhou Qiong was getting more and more curious about this Zhangzhe Zhuangzi. In reply to Darren, a special class servant first has to serve in this courtyard for 10 years. I started helping out when I was 6 years old and have been doing this for 11 years. Other than that, I still have to help my family in Zhuangzi's previous generation. With these 2, I have to pick someone who is sensible and smart to learn how to read. After that, I have to choose someone who is knowledgeable and knows how to keep accounts. Xiaoju's voice was still very pleasant when she spoke. She didn't sound arrogant at all. Only the other people in the courtyard knew that there were only 3 servants like her in the entire courtyard. Not everyone had the opportunity to learn things. After the little master and little lady became sensible, they started to send a large number of servants to learn. Other than learning, they also had to work. To be able to reach such a standard, it was obvious how much effort they had put in. Zhou Qiong also knew that there weren't many servants in his residence who had the opportunity to learn how to read. People like Xiaoju were very rare. At that moment, he didn't continue to harp on this topic. He stopped Xiaoju from going to invite her little master and little lady and walked over. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still playing. When Zhou Qiong's gaze landed on them, the 2 of them sensed it. People like them were especially sensitive to such things, especially Zhang Xiaobao. He had been captured, escaped and besieged before, so he had long trained to be sensitive. However, they still pretended not to notice. It wasn't until Pomegranate saw someone coming over and reminded them that they stopped what they were doing. Wang Wan hid behind Zhang Xiaobao while Wei Wei stuck her head out. The 2 of them blinked their big innocent eyes and looked at Zhou Qiong. "You are Xiaobao and you are Cuckoo? Come, let uncle take a good look at you." Zhou Qiong took a liking to the 2 children as soon as he saw them. He didn't wait for the servant girl to speak before he walked over, squatted down, and smiled at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan as he spoke. "Hello, uncle." Zhang Xiaobao greeted him first, and Wang Wan also followed suit in a small voice. At this time, the 2 of them didn't speak as fluently as before, and their enunciation wasn't as clear. They had shy and curious expressions on their faces. Pomegranate and Xiaoju watched from the side and inwardly let out a sigh of relief. The little master and little lady were really not ordinary. Zhou Qiong didn't know that the 2 children were pretending to be children. When he heard the greetings, his smile grew wider. "Xiaobao and Cuckoo, tell uncle, how old are you?" 3 years old. Zhang Xiaobao raised 3 fingers in front of him and replied with wide eyes. Wang Wan revealed half of her body and also said, "I'm the same age as Xiaobao." Zhou Qiong knew that this was a false calculation. Otherwise, the 2 children would both be 1 year and 8 months old. Looking at the pair in front of him, he really felt like they were a golden couple. He asked again, "Do you know who I am? My surname is Zhou, and I have a nephew named Zhou Shihu." After saying this, he looked at the 2 children. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan first revealed a puzzled and thoughtful expression. Then they suddenly smiled and nodded vigorously. Zhang Xiaobao said first, "Be a high-ranking official." Wang Wan followed. "Good person." After Wang Wan finished speaking, her entire body flashed out from behind Zhang Xiaobao and stood there obediently, as if she was no longer afraid. When Zhou Qiong heard this, he was happy. The child didn't know anything and would do whatever the adults taught her. This showed that the people in the courtyard usually taught the child this way. Especially when he saw Wang Wan's fearless appearance, he felt very comfortable. The child's wishes were the wishes of the adults. When he was happy, he wanted to give a gift. His 2 hands searched his body and found that he didn't bring anything. He could only apologetically smile at the 2 children and say, "Uncle didn't bring anything for you this time. Next time I'll make up for it." Zhang Xiaobao immediately handed over a slingshot at his waist. "This is for Uncle." He and Wang Wan each held 2 slingshots. One was strong and the other was weak. When no one was looking, they would practice with the strong one. If someone was nearby, they would take the weak one. This time they gave the weak one to Zhou Qiong. This time Zhou Qiong didn't know whether to accept or not. If he didn't accept a gift from the child would be unhappy. If he accepted it, how could he return it? Although it was just a slingshot, it was a treasure to the child. If the child gave him a treasure, what would he do? Looking at Zhang Xiaobao's expectant gaze, Zhou Qiong reached out and took the slingshot. He thought that he must repay this favor in the future. He also needed to help find candidates for the imperial examinations. After taking the slingshot, Zhou Qiong said a few words to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The 2 children didn't understand a lot of things. Occasionally, they would spit out a few words that weren't very clear. It was considered chatting, waiting for Zhou Qiong to decide to go back and rest. He was going to continue discussing matters with the people in Zhuangzi tomorrow and meet the 2 masters. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also went back to sleep. They still had to wake up at night to study. This time Zhou Qiong could finally sleep. However, he had a long dream at night. When he woke up in the morning, he could still remember what happened in the dream. He dreamed that he encountered a problem in the future. No one could help him. In the end, 2 children appeared and told him what to do. He couldn't see what the 2 children looked like, but what they said shocked him. In the end, he saw the 2 children each holding a slingshot and gradually running away. Shaking his slightly confused head, Zhou Qiong looked at the small slingshot beside his pillow. He thought that what he thought about in the day, he dreamed at night. Before he went to sleep, he thought about how to repay the gift of the slingshot. In the end, he dreamt the whole night. Chapter 103. When Zhou Qiong, Zhou Shihu, and the Yamen runner got up, someone came to serve them. After a while, the Yamen runner was led to another place to eat. Zhou Shihu and his nephew were invited to a separate dining room. Everything had been set up. The bowl of porridge was still steaming. It was obvious that it had just been served. There were more than a dozen small salted vegetables. Beside them were deep-fried dough sticks, steamed buns, and steamed buns. In addition to the 2 types of porridge, there was also soy milk and tofu pudding. Zhou Qiong originally thought that he would have to drink since morning. He didn't expect that there would be some ordinary food prepared. The small salted vegetables were just meat and vegetables. There was no other meaning to it. This time, the old masters of the Zhang and Wang families didn't come out. Only Father Zhang came to accompany them. There were only 3 people in the dining room. Looking at the food on the table in front of him, Zhou Qiong felt that there were too many types. He said, "Brother Yongcheng, there are so many things that I don't know which to choose. Why don't we take some away and let the servants eat at noon? By then, the servants will be hungry." Father Zhang didn't expect Zhou Qiong to ask such a question. He smiled and replied, "Brother Miaron, you don't have to worry about this. Everyone in the courtyard, except for those who are working, is eating. At noon, these things have to be fried in oil. Otherwise, the servants won't eat them." Yesterday, Father Zhang called Zhou Qiong Lord. After being rejected by Zhou Qiong, he started calling him by his courtesy name. Zhou Qiong was stunned when he heard this. He picked up a steamed bun and put it in front of his mouth. He said, "Does Zhangzhe Zhuangzi take care of the servants' breakfast? Brother Miaron has never been here before." Naturally, you don't know the situation here. Not to mention Zhangzhe Zhuangzi, even the Wang family's Zhuangzi is the same. In addition to 3 meals a day, the night watch also has supper, Father Zhang said to Zhou Qiong. Why do they do this? They eat a lot of food every day, right? Zhou Qiong didn't even have this in his own residence. The servants only had 2 meals a day. When he came to Zhuangzi, he actually heard such an unbelievable thing. Brother Miaoran, you don't believe me. Why don't you let little tiger take a look? Father Zhang said to Zhou Qiong. In fact, he wanted Zhou Shihu to go check it out. Zhou Shihu felt that this was not good. Seeing his uncle nod, he could only get up and leave. He went to the courtyard to take a look. Before he left, he glanced at the food on the table. He knew that the taste of Zhangzhe Zhuangzi's side dishes was definitely better than the ones outside. After Zhou Shihu left, Zhou Qiong saw that only he and Father Zhang were left in the hall. Only then did he say, Brother Yongcheng, what are your plans this time? I can't say what I plan to do, but there's something I need to trouble Brother Miaoran with. Zhuangzi and Zhuangzi are running 2 businesses together, and they will continue to run them in the future. However, when it comes to splitting the profits, Zhuangzi has taken too much of the advantage, especially when it comes to the white sugar. Zhuangzi has already recouped its capital, so why don't we change it to 10%? Father Zhang purposely sent Zhou Shihu away so that he could discuss matters with Zhou Qiong. When Zhou Qiong asked about it, the first thing he mentioned was the white sugar. Brother Yongcheng, I can't make the decision on this matter. When the time comes, Zhuangzi will send someone to discuss with Xiao Hu. Whether Xiao Hu thinks it's feasible or not, it's up to him to decide. Zhou Qiong didn't care about this matter. A little more money wouldn't affect his position. Father Zhang saw that there was no need to worry about this matter, so he said, There's one more thing. Zhang Wang and Gu San have jointly built a restaurant in Zhuangzi. This place is remote. When the time comes, I hope Brother Miaoran can help us. Brother Miaoran can rest assured that the restaurant's dishes won't damage Brother Miaoran's reputation. Oh, so that's how it is. Okay, I've already seen that place when I came. Seems pretty good. When the time comes, I'll definitely bring someone over. Zhou Qiong didn't care about this matter. When the time comes, he'll just find an excuse to come over. It wasn't the first time he'd done something like this. This matter could be considered to have been discussed properly. There was only one last thing left. Father Zhang didn't know what to say. According to him, it was to send out the grain for peace of mind. However, according to his wife, not only did they have to send it out, they also had to sell it. When the time comes, they would get the same amount of money from selling it. They couldn't lose money. After hesitating for a moment, he said, There's one more thing. There's a drought in Taihang Mountains and Hunan. Zhangzhe Zhuangzi still has surplus grain. I wonder if they can send it over there to solve the urgent situation. Here in Zhuangzi, Zhang Wang and Zhuangzi also want to buy a mountain. It's more than 1,000 mu, and it costs 1,500 taels of silver. When the time comes, County Magistrate Cheng can use this money to suppress the price. When the third thing was mentioned, Zhou Qiong pondered deeply. At this time, he finally understood why County Magistrate Cheng told him to delay the investigation until after the summer. It turned out that Zhangzhe Zhuangzi had this idea. At the end of summer, there would be a shortage of grain. As long as Zhangzhe Zhuangzi sold the grain at a fair price, they would get a lot of benefits. It seemed that the Zhang family wanted to give it away for free. He also knew that the grain had been bought by Zhang Wang and Zhang Wang since last year. It was the autumn harvest season, and the 2 families had spent almost all of their savings. After adding in the money they earned from some transactions later, the amount of grain was not a lot, but it was not a small amount either. In total, they had obtained nearly 10,000 don of grain. In total, there were 800,000 jin of grain. It was impossible to solve the food problem of so many people with this amount of grain. However, if it could solve the food problem of tens of thousands of people for a few months without any problem, it would be a big contribution. Seeing that Zhou Qiong was thinking about something, Father Zhang did not disturb him. He put his chopsticks on the chopstick holder and waited there. After a while, Zhou Qiong finally said, I heard that you have 800,000 jin of grain. Are you going to give it all away directly? Well, Father Zhang did not expect Zhou Qiong to know so much. It was indeed as Zhou Qiong said. His family had been thinking of ways to store grain, and they did have this much now. However, this grain could not be given away for free. He could only say, "My family's intention is to give away half of the grain and leave the other half for others to help earn back the capital. I wonder what the imperial court will reward us for doing this?" Hearing this, Zhou Qiong understood. It turned out that Zhangzhe Zhuangzi wanted to sell the other half at a high price and earn back the money they gave away. If they really did this, it would not be as simple as just earning back the money, but at least they would gain some profit. Zhou Qiong was not surprised at all. It did not matter who sold the grain. There were more big grain merchants who wanted to make money from disasters. Since Zhangzhe Zhuangzi said this, it meant that he did not treat Zhou Qiong as an outsider. After thinking for a while, Zhou Qiong said, "If you can really take out so much grain, you have to let County Magistrate Cheng submit a report first. I will also submit a report on my side. Not to mention keeping the grain, it is not impossible to go one step further. However, when you sell the grain, you have to find someone reliable. Don't make any mistakes. I just don't know who is handling the disaster this time. Otherwise, they can help even more." Father Zhang listened to Zhou Qiong's words and stared straight at the small dishes on the table. If someone looked closely, they would find that his pupils were out of focus. He was in a trance. In this state, he did not even need to adjust to look at a three-dimensional picture. He did not know what to say now. To be precise, he did not know if he should follow his wife's words or that immortal son's words. All of Zhou Qiong's reactions were predicted correctly. Even the content of his words was predicted. These were all what his wife told him. However, he knew that only his son and daughter-in-law had this kind of ability. From the breakfast arrangement until now, there was no difference at all. Father Zhang suddenly felt that Zhou Qiong was a little pitiful. After saying so much, everything was under the control of his son and daughter-in-law. They were really monsters, no immortals. "Brother Yongcheng, what's wrong? Did something bad happen again?" Zhou Qiong saw that Father Zhang was in a trance and raised his voice to ask. "No, it's nothing. This time it might not only be a drought but also a plague of locusts. Zhangzhe Zhuangzi has prepared close to 10,000 chickens and ducks. When the time comes, you can go over and help. The people sent by the higher-ups are not ordinary people. I heard that Prime Minister Yao has always been good at handling government affairs. Perhaps the Prime Minister will personally take care of it." Father Zhang had memorized all these words. No matter how he thought about it, he could not think of a Prime Minister who would personally take care of these matters. However, these words came from his wife, so he had to believe them. Plague of locusts? Why is there a plague of locusts again? Brother Yongcheng, this is not something to be worried about. The locusts are the emperor. If there really is a plague of locusts, then it is a sign from the heavens. You raise so many chickens and ducks in Zhuangzi. Could it be that you already planned for this? As Zhou Qiong was speaking, he suddenly remembered that Zhangzhe Zhuangzi had raised many chickens and ducks since last year. They also made a pond and dug a well. Could it be that the experts in Zhuangzi had already thought of this? Did they arrange it in advance? The more Zhou Qiong thought about it, the more fearful he felt. Not only was the expert powerful, but he was also afraid of the plague of locusts. If this was true, then this year's losses would not be enough. The east of Taihang Mountains and Hunan would be affected. When that time came, not to mention several times the price of the grain, it would not be enough. Brother Yongcheng, where did you hear all this from? Zhou Qiong had to ask. I didn't hear from anyone. It's all blind guesses. Why do you ask? Father Zhang tried his best to control himself and said with a smile. Oh, it's nothing. I was just casually asking. Brother Yongcheng, today's breakfast is very good. Seeing that Father Zhang was unwilling to talk about the expert behind this, Zhou Qiong could only suppress his guesses and pick up a piece of shallot to mix with tofu. Brother Miaoran is too polite. It's nothing good, just ordinary food. Xiaohu should be back soon, right? Brother Miaoran, eat first. It will be cold soon. Father Zhang picked up a fried red shrimp and stuffed it into his mouth. He actually did not like to eat shrimp, especially this kind of shrimp that had to be eaten even with the shell. However, Madame would prepare some for him every day. If he did not eat it, then Madame would go to his parents and complain. He did not know why his parents doted on Chao so much. If Chao complained, he was guaranteed to be scolded. He did not even dare to throw a tantrum. Chao gave birth to a big fat boy who was like a demon or an immortal.